Maybe if I turn my mic on, the people out in YouTube would hear me. Hello,
Oh,
everybody, and welcome to Blue Marble. Today, you've got, at the moment, we've got Alan Evans and myself here in the Discord, and anyone that wants to join is more than welcome to. How are you, Alan?
I'm good. I had a nice relaxed weekend because celebrating the Commander in Chief's 70th anniversary.
Yeah.
So family came over on Saturday. We went to the picnic in the village park that they put up that they organised. Um, so that was quite good with the grandkids.
Very nice.
Saturday afternoon, and then they went home, and then I went back down the park because they had a group doing live music, and the 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 pub was open. The pub being the bar in the village hall.
Pubs are always a good thing.
Yeah, we don't actually have a proper pub left in the village, but they do open the village hall up once first Friday of the month. Um, is pub night at the village hall. So that's starting to pick back up after COVID because obviously um, that all had to be knocked on the head for COVID,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's a village that doesn't have a huge amount of young people living in it, unfortunately. So it's taking a while to get people back into the thing of coming out.
Yeah, I can see that. But you guys went through a lot more, uh, a lot more stringent lockdown stuff than we ever did here in this country.
I think we did.
Yeah, or at least in the part of this country I live in. Uh, Pretty much as long as the pub in question served food, they let them continue to operate.
All
Other
right.
than maybe just for a few weeks, I don't remember now, but it wasn't anything like what you experienced over there or they experienced in Australia and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, over here the pubs were shut for quite a long time, and then when they reopened, um, it was outside service only.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Uh, I think that happened quite a bit. And there's the Stingray. Hello, Stingray.
Roblo, I'm making you a flat Earth image that just works.
Boy, I was hoping somebody could do that.
Well, surely somebody can go up in a balloon or something and get a nice photograph of the flat Earth.
At the moment, that's the best I've got. Let's see, that was courtesy of Chris, I believe.
I think the issue that you've got is if you start out with the premise that the Earth is flat, then every picture is of the flat Earth.
Then why can't you see all of it?
Oh, refraction, light bending, perspective. I can't even get through those without laughing.
Well, and they all just happen to work in just such a manner that it exactly matches what you'd see of a globe of the recognised radius.
Have you ever wondered why when the lookouts say, oh well, bottom up obstruction is just a thing that happens on flat Earth and all that kind of stuff, and then they say it's perspective and a certain type of light phenomenon that's incredibly constant, and then when it's a high refraction day and the Earth actually looks flat like in the Black Swan, they go, aha, look, that's flat Earth, and it's like, well, didn't you say flat Earth was the bottom up obstruction one as well? Oh, it's hilarious to me now.
Absolutely. Hello to Carl K. and Snesley Wipes who've joined us here in Discord. How are you guys? Oops. Carl dropped off. And look. Oh, looky. Money. Digital demonic Davros for 5 Australian. Isn't it funny the perception people around the world have of Australia? Yet, ask an Australian and we, yeah, nah, yeah, wrong, yeah.
Galah.
Pretty much.
Galah, I think how they pronounce that last one there.
I'm not even going to try it. How's that?
I only know because Terry taught me.
Yeah. Wait a minute, I can do it. Yeah, nah, you're wrong, you galah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've discovered that I shouldn't really try and do accents. It doesn't really come off right for me.
Yeah. Davros, if you want me to do it, you got to use the same stuff that Crocodile Dundee used. Okay, replace that with you pilligans. Then I can handle it. Okay. And the Stingray for $6 or £6, 66. Yes, it's funny. Thanks, Stingray. So,
did you guys hear my my simple question? I think it was to Rachel on Jose's show yesterday about the sun path and the 12 hours that the sun is visible and the path that it should take around a flat Earth being exactly, obviously, half a circle. And has anybody ever photographed this?
I didn't hear that.
Well, logically, if you think about it, if in Florida or where you are, Blue, you can see the sun now for just shy of, let's say, 12 hours. But on a flat Earth, you have to believe in a cyclic kind of sun. So it doesn't matter whether it's an ellipsis or a circle that it's going round. It's going to be going round and it's going to take 24 hours. Now, in its path round, it obviously does 360 degrees. It needs to. But then that means for the 12 hours that you see it, it needs to go through a direction change of 180 degrees. And I would like someone to just photograph that for me over the course of a day, because I'd find it incredibly interesting.
I think I would too.
Stingray, I think you've got how long the sun is up a bit wrong. Well, at least for here. Because it's more like 5 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah. Now, I did say Florida, and I think Blue's southern. So they get it at the moment for over 11 and a half hours.
Oh, yeah, more than that.
I don't know your elevation or the occlusion of the land masses at your horizon, so I just guessed a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're on the other side of 12 hours now. We could look it up, but
Yeah, Al, don't get me wrong. I know that we barely see the sun at the best of times.
Yeah, I have been less. I've been less than amused with the last couple of days. I was really hoping for some dry weather running up to the solstice.
Hey, shout
So
out to Stevie B for 20 pounds. Just showing my thanks. Stevie, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. That's great. Hey, wow, we got 60 people watching. Can you believe that? Let's see who else we got. Oh, we got Brian Leakey in the chat. We've got Sean Hawkins joining us. I'll try
Hello.
that in English. Hello.
Howdy, howdy. Mic check.
Yeah, you're good, Brian. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Yeah, did you ever think about that, Brian? I don't know whether you caught Jose's show yesterday, but if the sun on a flat, if we assume we're on flat Earth, and you guys can see the sun for, let's say, 12 hours in the day at the moment, and it takes 24 hours for it to get back round to where you first saw it, then one would assume it's got to do 360 degrees, yet you barely, and especially where you are, Brian, you barely see it take any curvature at all. It just seems to be going in a straight line near enough for 12 hours. It's weird, that, right?
No, it's well, if it's approaching, if we can see it about 6,000 miles on the approach and about 6,000 miles on the descent, as it goes away, then if it travels about another 12,000 miles to hit that same point, like a cycle. And it seems to be like a I don't know, man. It's if you take sun calc and you trace it out, it's like a steep ellipse, more or less. If you wanted to complete the ellipse as a circle laying on the ground or a circle like it would create on a globe, it's
Yeah. But I mean, think about it this way, Brian. At the last point that you see the sun, it needs to be going in the opposite direction to the first time that you see it. Do you think that is what happens in our reality?
Well, I mean, one of the things that led me to it, I'm not sure, but I'll say this, when I seen the time lapse of the flight from JFK to Moscow, that's New York airport. They took off, the sun was setting, which puts it, off the coast of California and working its way antipodal on a globe. But when the craft got up, the sun was right there, pretty much just right off to the side over, what we'd call the North Pole center. On a globe, it would have been kind of antipodal, working its way down and around, but it sat there just, riding the horizon with the flight right, looking at the wing pretty much. You could see it. You could see the light it threw up over the horizon all the way, and then
Brian, I've seen, yeah, absolutely, and that matches a globe fully with all the predictions. If the sun's millions of miles away and the globe's rotating, but my question, Brian, was throw the globe out the window. Literally, let's concentrate on a flat Earth. When you see the sun in the morning and it's traveling in one direction, if you see it 12 hours later, and you can, because you're, I guess, in the state of Florida, then you would need to logically say that sun has to be traveling in the opposite direction to what it was when you first saw it, in order for it to cycle round the beautiful, flat, very flat, motionless Earth.
You just said that matches a globe. So the setting off the coast of California, and then taking off from JFK, going to Moscow, seeing the sun off the wing matches a globe. You might get a globe, but I say, man, if you look at sun calc, it's showing an ellipse.
Forget the calculators. Forget everything. It can be ellipse or circle.
Well, let me say it like this.
Just wait a minute, Brian. Just really quickly. Let's throw out everything, and let's even throw out land masses on maps. We don't actually need that. We only need two premises. One, the sun does 360 degrees round a beautiful, and the second premise, flat Earth and we are on it. And that's it. That's all we actually need. Now, what we can do from anywhere, and anyone can do this, is they can look at the sun on the first hour that it is visible, and then look at the sun on the 12th hour it is visible. And naturally, the point there on a circle or cycle that the sun is taking, it would have to be going in opposite directions because it has to go around 360 degrees in
Doesn't it
around
do a
24
circle?
hours.
Ain't it doing a circle on your model too? Like a circle?
No, stop. We're throwing the ball out. The ball works fine, but let's just say it doesn't. Let's just throw it out and come up with something new.
Let me
Flat
explain it
Earth.
then.
Flat Earth
Let me
rules.
explain it. On a flat Earth, we could probably make a decent enough map to where the sun, wherever it's at, would match the clock. Oh wait, we've done that. The flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac clock app, right where the sun's at, pretty much within reason. There might be some angle discrepancies, but wherever that sun's at zenith, that's right the point of Earth it's over, and it matches reality pretty good, man.
Right,
I haven't seen the ball. I haven't seen the ball make a clock yet.
So again, the problem is this: one, no one's ever produced a flat Earth sundial, which is interesting. And every sundial that has been produced, other than the equatorial ones that are actually not that accurate in ancient civilizations, in the northern hemisphere, especially in the United Kingdom, I forget what the upright thing is, but that has to be aligned to the axis of the Earth, and my latitude is incredibly important for that to work on a sphere. And you'll notice that the gaps of the hours are slightly different as well because of a sphere. Now, I've never seen a flat Earth sundial, just like I've never seen a sun take
Sundials are
a
flat Earth,
108 the sun take a 180 degree turn through the day, and that's what it would have to do if the Earth was flat.
I've never
can we
heard
model
of
this?
a globe Earth sundial, but let me say
Speaking
that,
of,
hold
speaking
on,
of,
let me respond. I'll make it quick.
okay,
You're really hell bent on the latitude, okay? But the way we map out the sun is doing a circle in the longitude, okay? And on a flat map, the longitude matches perfectly. If you look at the zenith of the sun, according to the longitude, it works perfectly on a flat Earth map. It's warped and distorted on a globe, and I've never seen a sundial that distinguishes between a flat or globe Earth. It's a flat sundial based on shadows going a circle.
Wolfie produced a video where he took sundials. He got these things where you can print them off of his website, and basically a northern sundial and a southern sundial are just mirror images of each other. And he took both of those and he put them flat, right? So the gnomon is facing 90 degrees up from the surface of the table, and he rotated a light representing the sun in a circle like on flat Earth.
Yeah,
Then
it
he
was
took
engineered.
that, then he and what happened was the times didn't synchronize between the sundials; they were off. But then he took them and he put them in an angle to what they're supposed to be placed on, like on a spherical Earth, and he brought the sun down the center like it would be on a rotating Earth. And guess what, Brian? They matched.
It worked perfect. Yeah, you reverse engineered it from a flat Earth.
He represented a spherical Earth and a flat Earth, and only the spherical Earth matched reality.
Well, let me just say this to everybody: if you try to use the globe Earth directions, they're not going to match a flat Earth. I will agree with that, but I want to say that okay, like as far as the what I'm trying to work on with my model, and I'm trying to make a more accurate flat map, and I'm trying to get a hold of some information that doesn't seem to be out there. There's certain places that I don't know if we can get the information, like Asia and maybe Russia. I don't know. But besides that, if I'm trying to think like that maybe the tilt, like the 23.4 degree tilt, has something to do. But instead of a perfect circle around the flat Earth, I'm making it kind of an ellipse, and it kind of based on like heights of not necessarily a solid firmament, but like a point on even like an apparent dome or celestial dome, or maybe even a solid dome, like where it kind of tracks up and down like a Pringle. Like if you look at the analemma, how if you turn the analemma sideways, it looks like a Pringle, kind of how it goes, kind of tracks up and down a little bit. I'm trying to map it to where it does that. So when it heads off the coast of California, it's working its way from its highest point down low toward Australia, giving it kind of more of a, I'm trying to work that out, man. And it having a little bit of success, but it's kind of hard to just tell you. But it kind of shows up in different places based on the altitude of the dome. That's the whole point. It shows up in different places.
Sorry, Brian. You definitely need something visual to explain a concept like this. But this single statement, do you agree or not agree? On a flat Earth, if I can see the sun for 12 hours, the first instance that I see it, it has to be traveling in exactly 180 degrees a different direction when the last hour I can see it, because it's 12 hours, right? And it needs to go around 360 degrees. So wouldn't it be simple to kind of work that path out?
I don't know what it goes. We could see it for 180, a little more, and then we can see dark for 180 degrees.
You're missing what I'm saying. Okay, so on a flat Earth, the sun would have to take a circle round the North Pole, let's say, yeah? Has to take a circular path, correct?
Sure.
Or near enough a circle. It can be ellipsis slightly. It can be a slight ellipsoid, but it needs to get around 360 degrees, which means if that takes 24 hours, in 12 hours, let's say it was headed in one direction, and let's call that direction 0 degrees, just for the sake of it. And on the 12,
you're missing the point that we see the sun on the approach for about 6,000 miles, and then going away from us for 6,000 miles. So once it passes that 6,000 miles, it's got to go 12 more thousand miles before it gets
got it. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Don't care about distance. Now, I don't even care about elevation or the size of the sun in this. I just care about its path. And that path can be at an elevation of 1 foot or 10,000 feet or 10,000 miles. I do not care. I don't even care that it's hard to get it down to the horizon. All I care about is on that first instance that I see it, it's traveling 0 degrees. And then if we were able to track the sun, it would go around all the way through 360 and obviously end up back at 0 at 360. Now, if I can see for 12 hours, that means the first hour that I can see, it's headed in 0 degrees direction. And in the last hour that I see it, because it has to have completed half that path around the Earth, doesn't matter about distance, half that path around the Earth, it has to be going 180 degrees. Which means the following premise would be true on a flat Earth. The first instance I see it, it would be going in an opposite direction. In the last instance that I see it, if I can see it for 12 hours, which you clearly can in Florida. How do you explain that?
Dude, I'm gonna have to refer you to the Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. It shows the sun. The only thing I disagree with that is I think if you did a yin and yang for daylight and darkness, and had it go around wherever the sun's at overhead, that's the zenith or the highest the sun will be for that point on the map that day, and it works perfect. I don't know
that
what
app does not show the Earth being illuminated 50%. So that app is wrong.
Yeah, neither does the globe. It's always
it most certainly does.
No, there's always more than half.
Most certainly does. No, it's half, dude. It's half.
Look into it, bud. It's not half. It's more than half on either model.
How much more? How much more? No, there isn't. No, it's impossible.
About probably 5% or so.
So have you ever seen this sun take a 180 degree path through the sky in direction, Brian?
Amazing.
Have I seen it do what?
Take 180 degrees, from its direction, the direction that the sun is traveling. Have you ever seen it in a day take 180 degrees turn through that day?
Why would it need to do that?
Because it needs to get back round to the start again over the next 12 hours. So it would have to go.
You are so hung up on the sun, dude. Like the sun. No wonder they call you sun worshippers, dude. The sun, the sun, the sun. Like, dude, I'm just telling you. Go look at the clock app, and wherever the sun's at, that's when it's high noon.
I'm not on that time at the moment, Brian. I'm on about this premise that no one's ever adequately explained. If the sun does a cycle and goes through 0 to 360 degrees, ends up back where it started in the course of 24 hours, that means in 12 hours it goes from 0 to 180 degrees around the arc of half an ellipsoid, which means
let's call 0 6,000 miles away from it. Let's call zero right when it's rising, and it's 6,000 miles away from it. Okay, on its way to us.
Yeah, so that's 6,000 miles now. So once, if you can see it for 12,000 miles, let's say, that means on the 12,000 mile mark, the direction of the sun is traveling would have to be backwards on itself. So it would start the day going 0 degrees, then 1 degree, 2 degrees. And that's the path that it's taking because it needs to be this path.
Now let's call overhead. 90 degrees. Let's call it 90 degrees. Then let's call the sunset 180, and then it does another 180 to get back to zero, right?
So that's the direction that the sun is taking, not its inclination from you. So
what do you mean that's the direction? That's the degrees. The degrees.
Yes, the direction. Right. So think about the ground and an aircraft flying over, and let's replace the sun with an aircraft. It needs a heading, and it's going to stay at the same altitude. Now we need to do a 180-degree turn in 12 hours. So
I just told you the JFK to Moscow. It obviously does a 180-degree turn. It's not antipode on a ball because we've seen it parallel to the wing flying from New York to Moscow.
If you do that, I can clearly show you how it would work on a globe, and it'll just work.
Yeah, I'll take a look.
I'm throwing the globe out the window. I'm trying to work with you. I'm trying to get this work on flat Earth.
Sounds like you already got it worked out, Stingray, that it can't possibly work. And I don't even really fully understand what you're trying to tell me, to be perfectly honest.
I'll share my screen and I'll show you.
It's been worked out for 2,500 years, Brian.
Give me just 1 second, guys. Another shout out to Digital Demonic Davros for $5 Australian. Davros says, wait a minute. How do you reverse engineer something we have no images of or measurements for? By the way, latitude creates a difference, not longitude. Thanks, Davros.
Well, that's a good point. But what I was talking about is the clock, the Flat Earth Sun Moon Clock app, Zodiac Clock app, whatever it's called. But it's based on it's on an AE map, so it goes by the azimuth, and so that's based on the longitudes, basically, like the azimuth, like the 360 degrees around Polaris, and it works pretty good. You know, you could make the argument from different points and stuff, but as far as the height of the sun for that area, your high noon, it matches pretty much everywhere. Fairly decent.
Right, Brian, let me know when you can see my screen.
Hold on a second. Let me get this up too for the.
I see it
for the YouTube. Okay.
I think what's odd is on this model that Stingray is going to present, the sun does not take a arcing path in the sky. It takes an ant-arcing path in the sky, as Brian would say, an upside down U, if you will. That's not what we see in reality, is it, Brian?
No, it doesn't do an anarch where I'm at. It does a arc.
It does on this model, not where you live, because where you live is a sphere, dude. It doesn't do that where you live, Brian, because you live on a sphere. This is representing your flat Earth that you claim is real, and it doesn't match
my
reality,
local area.
Brian.
Sean, let me respond. My local area.
You can respond when I'm done talking, boy.
Yes, I'm responding now, man. Let me respond.
No, I wasn't done talking.
Give us.
You interrupted me.
Let's try not.
This doesn't match reality, Brian.
Okay, let's try not over talking each other. Either anybody. Okay. And while I got the mic, shout out to Rodman. I think that's Canadian $10. I would love to know they visualize when thinking about their Earth. Okay, whatever that means. Got it.
Yeah, Sean?
Yeah.
Hello, George.
Yeah, you need to apologize to Brian for interrupting the beginning of his sentence with the middle of yours.
Yeah. It's like I used to say when I drove a truck and guys that get into my lane said, I'm sorry for not sharing half of my lane with you.
Well, don't ask a question if you're going to carry on and continue.
Well, you need to wait for the person to finish talking before you start talking, Brian. I waited till you're done, right?
So what doesn't Brian understand today?
So wait a minute. So Brian, are you still viewing my screen? Yes, Brian. I'll show you the problem.
I got Sean and Peyton Shield just coming at me just from 100 different angles, man. I'm probably gonna wait until there's a gap.
I'm just wondering what. I'm just trying to figure out what you don't understand today.
Wait a minute, Nessa. Are you looking at my screen, Brian? Because this is what I was trying to explain to you. Can you see it?
Do me a favor. Pull up the. Can you do a split screen and pull up the?
So let me just explain this to you. I'll explain the problem, and then maybe you can come up with a solution.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
So the circular thing here. These are the tropics that I've got here.
Wait, real quick, Dean, real quick. You think for me, should the sun anarch or should it arc and make a smiley face? Because Sean was just saying it would make a frown or anarch. I
know you're in the state of Florida, and I don't know where the sun is on the tropics.
Oh, judging on what you're showing now, would I see an arc or an anarch? Would I see a frown or a smiley face?
Well,
judging by what you're showing us.
If you're looking south, you'd see slightly a smiley face, but it'd be almost.
No, if I'm looking, if we're mapping the sun over my area as it passes by, is it gonna make a smiley face or a frown? He's trying to say it's anarching, like arcing away from me toward the equator, and I'm trying to tell him that on that model right there, it's, you know what I'm saying? It's smiley face and it's arcing around.
Let me just get this problem out so that you understand the problem. It's very important to me that you understand the
problem.
If
you can't agree with me on something as simple as that, man, then I mean, why should I follow what you're saying, bro? I'm just asking, what's the sun doing for me? Is it smiley facing or frowning on the map you're showing?
If you're looking south, it would be slightly.
You're looking at the sun. What the sun's doing? What the shadow it would leave on the ground?
It doesn't. It's got no expression on it. So I don't know then.
The shadow it leaves on the ground, according to where I'm standing, as it passes by, as it comes to me and circles around and passes by. If you traced it or go to SunCalc or whatever, what's it doing? What is it doing? A frown? Is it going down and away from me, or is it coming up with a smiley face and a frown? And I don't know how else to put this. I think you understand what I'm saying.
I didn't say a thing about the shadow, Brian. I said the path it takes. Look at the right hand of the screen. Look at the right hand side of the screen, Brian. See the path that the sun's taking. See that.
Look at the Tropic of Cancer.
See that smiley face?
Yeah,
see the smiley face. There you go.
Arcing, not anarching.
No, it's up. It's a smiley face. It's not a frowny face.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Guys, please let me just get this out. Please let me get this thing out. Just to Brian, please. This is the issue I've got, Brian. So, if we assume that we are on a flat Earth, and you assume you are anywhere on this flat Earth, I don't care. But I have this observer right now is in the state of Florida, pretty central. Now, what we see over the course of 24 hours. Is the sun will circle, it doesn't matter which tropic it's at, don't give a shit, it will come round and end up back where it started. Now the important thing here is that the path and direction of that sun, the direction of the sun, if I can see it for 12 hours, will be the opposite direction on the 12th hour as it is to the first. So when we see the sun do this and go all the way around, we can still see it. Now, the funky thing there is the sun has to be going in the opposite direction. And this is not what we see in reality. And I'm wondering how you can reconcile this.
What are you talking about, the opposite direction? Put where the sun would, where I'd first start to see it. Put it about 6,000 miles away, where I would first start to see it.
No. That's off the coast of Africa, which is a little over 6,000 miles. About 6,000. Well, it depends on this map. Let's call it 6,000 miles. Because this map doesn't match distances very well.
So you can explain sunset and sunrise too, or just sun movement?
All I'm wanting, I actually don't.
Okay, wait. So I thought I was muted. So right there you have the sun. For me, coming as it's coming up, it's a little bit north of east, right? Where you have it situated on Cancer, it's coming in a little bit north of east, according to where you have it, right?
No, it's very much north, very, very north. About, let's say, well, it's not 45 degrees, but it's probably about 65-ish.
Can you draw a 90-degree angle from the North Pole to Florida? Just say mid-Florida, and then out toward the sun.
Yeah, can you see these two lines here, the blue one and the two blue ones? The one on the left is north, the one on the right is to the sun.
Yeah, it's about north of east. It's northeast. I mean, if you draw a 90-degree angle from the North Pole to the middle of Florida, and then draw the arm, the bottom half of the right angle, it's going to be a little bit underneath that sun.
Right. So the issue is, when we see the sun now, we'll see it all the way through here. Can you see that it's going back on itself there? It's going in the opposite direction now to what it was when we first saw it here.
That's exactly what we see. That's exactly what it does, Steve.
Okay. So, but the issue is, it will always do this. Always, without question. Except there is a time in the year where this thing doesn't do this shape or anyway. It doesn't anyway, but it doesn't come anywhere close. It near enough comes in a straight line overhead from one side.
It never does that. It never does that where I'm at.
You are in Florida, right?
Yeah, it don't never do straight lines ever.
He's north of Cancer, just barely.
Yeah. I'm
Just
just a little north of
Cancer
Cancer.
is over Cuba.
It's pretty accurate, man. I mean, it ain't perfect, but it's pretty accurate to
Yeah, except the sun was
where it
there.
rises and where it's set.
Can you see the view on the right? This should be your view through the day, Brian. So you see it come past like that, and it's this.
What do you mean this should be my view?
So this is the view from Florida.
If the Earth was flat.
Yeah, the view from Florida if the Earth was flat and this was the sun.
I get a smiley face in my sky, man. That's what I see.
Yeah.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah, dude.
It always arcs down to the right. Always.
No, can it arc down to the right, John? Down.
Because that's how sunsets work, dude. It arcs down to the right.
What direction am I looking at sunset?
Arcs
Sean?
down toward the right in a
What
downward
direction am I
arc.
looking at sunset?
Hey, Brian.
You're looking at west.
Hey, Brian.
Okay, now why are you calling west down?
The path that the sun takes goes from upper left when you're looking west down toward the right.
The sunset right now. I'm looking west, and right now where I'm standing, the sun is north of west right now. It came pretty close to overhead, and now it's veering off northwest, just like he's drawing on that map. And if you don't, I can put the camera on if you don't believe me.
It arced over your left shoulder and went down to the right.
So Brian, these lines here, the sun, this flat Earth map is predicting that the sun that you're looking at sunset will be 45 degrees north of west.
Okay, you got to come back to me a little bit. You got to come back to me for sunset. I think you went a little bit too far. Yeah.
This is
that's more than 6,000 miles, I think. You know,
it is. But this is the 12th hour. You see, for 12 hours, 24 hours is a complete circle. This is 12 hours.
Hey, Brian.
That's pretty close to what I see. Go ahead, George. You're coming in soft, man. I can barely hear you.
No, I don't know. The sun always traces out a parabola, very close to a parabola from sunrise to sunset, and you get max altitude right around noon. So it's what we call concave downward. I don't see. Maybe I came into it. I don't quite understand this smiley face thing.
The point I'm trying to make with him is the sun comes. It's right now. And this time of year, for me, the sun comes in a little bit north of east, pretty much where he was showing over by Africa. And now as it's setting, it's heading off north. It's already north of west, and it just keeps heading more and more north as it sets. And I can show you. I can turn my camera on.
It does. And the same thing here. Right now, this time of year for me, this time of year, me being so far north, it rises almost in the northeast and sets in the northwest. And
right. That's so that's not that far off what he's showing us. I mean, would you agree? It's pretty close. I mean, it's not that far off, man.
I'm going to try it on a globe and put it in your approximate location, Brian, and we'll see which is closer.
my problem is that those bearings that you gave for sunrise and sunset in Florida probably more closely represent 52, 53 degrees north at this time of the year. And yeah, we've got significantly more than 12 hours of sunlight when you can see it.
Yeah, well, in the UK, you should have about what I do. I mean, I'm at 48.6. You're right around what, 55 latitude, north
50
latitude.
I'm 52 and a half.
Okay,
But
50. So we're very close. I mean, from dusk to dawn, it's about 4 hours. I mean, my gosh, from sunrise to sunset, we have close to 16 hours, and then there's twilight and dawn, and we only have dark night now for about 4 hours.
you're lucky. We don't get past astronomical twilight here.
Really?
And we
Yeah.
won't get into
Our astronomical twilight lasts about 2 hours.
My solar panels have to be at 28,000 feet just to work.
Where are you at, Stingray?
Just near, well, probably the same latitude as Al, to be honest, at the moment. But Brian, are you still looking at my screen? I've just tried it on a
What's
globe.
that? What latitude is that?
Wait a minute. Just have a look at this, Brian. I've just tried it on a globe.
Yeah, I'll have a look at this. But after this, man, the stream said was asking for flat Earth proofs, and so I'd like to go to that subject, man. I was gonna throw up flat Earth proofs.
Finish this. So on the flat Earth, it didn't exactly work because it would need to be north of. It'd have to be north of northwest for it to set in the last 12 hours. Now I've put it on a globe, and it's predicted that this should be the path of the sun through your sky in Florida right now, where it goes up, does that, and comes down, and they're the directions. And I pretty much say that will match to within a
It's
couple
more
of
north of that, man. I see more north of that, man, in my opinion. But look, man, I think the globe was pretty much mapped out with the sun, using the path of the sun, right?
Brian, I bet you this matches to within a degree. I bet.
Yeah, I bet you your globe was made using the path of that sun. So
The globe was made by me. Wait a minute. The globe was made by me clicking create sphere. I did it twice, and I placed one many millions of miles away, and I called it the sun. And it casts parallel light rays. And all I do to give this prediction is I rotate a sphere with you on it, and it works 100% of the time, Brian. It's predicting it right now for you, including the Terminator line.
And Brian,
Hey,
notice when he activates it. Notice the upside down, the frowny face that the path of the sun takes. It looks nothing like the Earth model, does it, Brian?
Hey, Stingray, I'm gonna bugger out of here, but you
George,
may find
before
this
you leave, will you
interesting.
tell Sean
Wait,
that we're not
just a minute, Brian.
around,
Just,
please?
Brian, please. Yes, it's a frown face. It's what we call concave downward parabola. Fit works very well. I've made actual measurements for over the course of a year back in Colorado and also here.
George, from north.
Wait, Brian. And also here in Minnesota, and I found that you can curve fit that path very accurately to within a tenth of a degree using a parabola.
Okay, so with the sun below you, you're able to see a frown. Okay, now for me,
Sun below you? What do you mean? Look at what Stingray is putting on there. That's an upside. That is a concave downward parabola that is tracing.
Okay,
in the
that's
sky.
perfect. So you're up above. You're in a higher latitude than me, right? And you're seeing a frown.
It's still going to be the same for you. The parabola is just going to be a little bit different.
How is the sun coming in from the northeast, and then coming over my head, and then setting off northeast, and being a frown for me?
What he's showing you, Brian, is from your location. Not from George's, from your location, Brian.
Coming in north, okay.
You're saying
Anybody?
I think
nobody
you guys are
everybody's
trying
talking
to say the same thing. Only you're
Yeah, I
trying
think-
to say from your location versus from the sun's location, Brian. I
Well, it might be an issue
I
of
posted
it
both
might be an,
Florida and the UK in the chat.
Phil, it
On the
might be
map
an
that he
issue.
showed representing my flat
Phil,
Earth is
Brian.
a smiley face.
If you looked at it
Brian,
from your position, it would be a frown.
Brian, it might be an issue of terminology here. The sun always rises near the horizon and sets near the horizon and reaches max altitude around local noon. That
Well,
defines a concave downward parabola, which we all refer to as a frowny face. Not
but
a
if-
smiley.
if mapped out, if mapped out on the map, if mapped out on the map
Easy.
showing a smiley
Well,
face, I don't speak Sean, I don't speak dipshit, so I don't know.
From what position?
I don't
Right.
see how y'all could call the Tropic of Capricorn a frown.
From what
That's
position,
ridiculous.
Brian? From your position or from the equator?
From the
Dude.
map he showed to represent me from Florida, from the map
Okay.
from the sun coming
If
in
you're-
from the north, so that's where we'll start smiley face. Then
Okay.
coming over my head and then setting back off to the north. That's a smiley face. It's not a
From
frown.
the equator,
Stop.
yeah. But from your position, it actually arcs down. Are you saying from your position or you're saying from the sun's position?
Look at a flat earth map
Brian,
and show me how I see a frown.
Are you in live
Show
chat?
me a frown and show me what I see.
Do you have live chat, Brian?
Stop.
Are you in live chat there?
Stop straw manning me, Brian. I'm saying, look at what you're seeing from your location according to this model that Stingray's showing you right now. That's what you see in reality. This is from your location. Now, before he showed you the flat model, and it doesn't match reality at all. I'm not talking about the shape of the line of longitude or latitude for the Cancer or whatever. For the tropic, I'm saying the path of the sun, Brian. Stop straw manning me.
Hey, yeah, this is what Rodman meant in his message. He said, "What can Flursa visualize?" He's looking at the picture and he's still having trouble visualizing it. It's called aphantasia.
You know why? Is because he chooses not to accept it as truth, even though it blasts him in the face.
It's cognitive
It's
dissonance.
gone anyway. Brian left
I don't-
because
yeah.
he can't handle
Did he leave?
seeing
Yeah.
a
Yeah, he left.
representation of truth.
Oh, dang it. Because I actually posted. I think the problem is
Well,
he's
I-
talking. He's seeing this maps and seeing it from above. And then if you look at from above, from north, with north to the top, versus standing at your position and looking south at the sun. So I think you guys are both saying the same thing. I really do in this case.
I'd say
Now,
the
of course,
reason Brian left is because it's awfully hard to try to talk when six of you are trying to talk over him.
Yep.
I purposefully tried not to talk over him. I waited till there was silence.
I don't understand this terminology of him talking about the sun tracing out a smiley face. Everybody sees it arcing concave downward, no matter where you are on here.
Right, from your position.
Yeah, from your position.
That's the thing. I think he's looking at it from a north, with north being up, because north is always up on the. In that
Right.
case, it would be a smiley. I
He's
still want him to explain. If he can barely explain Florida, look at this map that I posted from Great Britain, and Alan posted one too. I mean, you cannot explain that on the flat Earth because the sun is always to the south of you.
So if the sun is above his head, does he have to look up to see it?
Yes.
So then what's confusing about up? Because he's looking up to
Who
see the
knows?
sun.
Who knows? Plus, he's a little bit north, just barely north of the Tropic of Cancer, and the longest day was what, last month? About 2 weeks ago now? 3?
No, the longest, the solstice is in about 15 days.
15 days. Okay, so it's not quite there.
It's,
Yeah,
it's around the 22nd of June.
I lived in Texas for just a little bit, and I was amazed at how short the shadows were on the solstice versus living, say, in North Dakota or Minnesota, where you lived. I mean, the shadows are significantly shorter.
Hey, Brian, if you're listening, If you want to come back and try to finish your conversation with Stingray, jump back in. If I have to, I'll mute everybody else.
I think, Blue, if he comes back in, we should let him present the evidence, because he wanted to get back to presenting evidence for flat Earth.
Yeah, and I wanted him to get to that. So let's see, maybe he'll join back up. Maybe not. Anyway, we'll work on it. Is that Larry I see in here?
Yeah, sure, Bill.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, Larry?
Oh, same old, same old.
I watched the Triangle Abusers channel for a while last night, and I learned things. I learned that you're not a surveyor. I bet you didn't know that.
No, I've heard that most recently. So I double checked with the state of California. I'm still good.
Oh. Are you telling me that the Science Deniers channel was wrong? How could that possibly be?
Well, because they didn't run my board certification through the Department of Consumer Affairs, California.
And Brian is back. Hello, Brian.
Yeah, sorry about that, man. I had to drop, man. I put in the chat that I'd be right back, but I didn't know if you seen it or not.
Yeah,
but I'm back.
I probably wasn't looking. So, what we want to get to, I want you and Stingray to finish your discussion, and then I want you to present what you wanted to present. Can we do that?
Yeah, that'd be great, man. I think I'm getting a bad connection. Can you hear?
Yeah, you sound pretty good. It cut off right at the end of your sentence there, but not much.
Okay, I think it's better. I hope. But yeah, I was just trying to make the point that it matches decent, and I can't explain the sun perfectly. I do believe that that's how the globe is pretty well mapped out. Judging by where the sun's at.
You mentioned, sorry, Brian, just really quickly, you mentioned an example. If you could paste the example in the chat where I can get to it. You said something about a plane crossing over and sun. Now, if you paste that example that you say is definitive, anti-globe proof, proof against the globe, and I can show you that that is exactly predicted on a globe, would that give you pause for thought?
What are you referring to something in specific?
Yeah,
because I've never said anything. I say like debunk, but I don't know if I've ever claimed 100%. But what do you mean in specific?
So you said something about a plane journey, and then the sun being off the coast of California, and then through the plane journey it was off the wing, and I'd have to see it. But you said that definitely can't happen on a globe. But if I can show you that can only happen on a globe, would that give you pause for thought? If you can get me that source material, by the way.
Yeah, I'll post it, and you can try and explain it.
No, I'll just put it on there and it'll just work. But I'll show you it, and then hopefully it'll give you pause for thought.
Yeah, I always try. I got a globe here, a little one and a bigger one, and I try and use it anytime I'm comparing, claims and whatnot. I try and use the globe and string lines or little things that represent airplanes and shit. And
Ryan, the difference is I can actually make a little aircraft, have it going over the globe, and put us in a seat looking out the window at millions of miles away sun. So if I can make it match by simply rotating it and moving the plane at the speed it is and progressing it through time that is shown in whatever video you send me, that should give you pause for thought, right? But you've not posted it yet, by the way.
Well, besides that, did you see Ari Landucci post the flight from Spain to Pablo, South America? and how
No, I'd just like to
the sky
correct you
didn't
wrong.
even change. You couldn't, like, you would think if you got higher and farther toward the south, you'd see like more stars and stuff. And that didn't really happen. The sky just kind of stayed the way it was, man. If you didn't see it, man, I'm not even gonna try and explain it. But
No,
let me try and
don't
post this real
explain
quick.
it. Just stick to. Give me one video that you think is absolutely against the globe, that would give you pause for thought if I could show you that it absolutely only works on a globe, and let me attack that one. Just one. Find the reference, but but do it whenever and just get me it. But I think you ought to present your flat Earth stuff, which we were on about now.
Roger that. I'm gonna post it.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hello, hello.
Well, I find that for
It is I, but I have a question. Why is it I'm having less than 10 hours of sunshine today? It's not even solstice time. Yet 6 months ago, I had over 16.
No, that's
I
just bragging, and that's just because you're lucky.
Anybody? Anybody?
I think your
Oh.
accent says it all.
Well, it's also the fact I'm at 34.7 south.
Wow, these.
You know, it's one of those great mysteries.
Oh yeah, you're not in England, are you?
It's one of those
No.
great mysteries we don't know.
But I do.
Stingray, it's in. I don't think it's the beginning of that. I think it's toward the end. That video is a little bit long, but there's a section you can't mistake it because you'll see the view from the aircraft from the left wing.
Sorry, where did you post it, Ryan?
Posted in.
You roboting, Brian? Yeah, I don't see it posted either.
Try it again.
Anyway, the fact that being Wednesday here, I'll have
Do
to
it in
see you
live
next
chat.
Tuesday. Oh, and I came in here because you're not getting any more money out of me, Blue.
Well, I appreciate what you've done so far.
Longitude doesn't matter with a sundial, it's the latitude of which it is placed, because one in the south won't work in the north.
Who said longitude?
Ah, you weren't listening, were you?
Okay, let's see. Get this back on screen. This is it, huh?
Well, it's in that video. I think it's the last 3 minutes or so. 3 minutes of that video, I believe. Shows that plane flight.
Yeah, let's see if I can get it up on the screen here.
I believe somebody posted a comment about that flight a little while ago, that this was pretty much right around the solstice as well. The northern solstice, in fact. Summer.
Brian, was this meant to be a time lapse of an actual aircraft that I'm looking for?
Yeah. It shows you it maps the line out on a flat Earth map, and it has that in the bottom of the screen, and then it shows the time lapse of the flight in a view from the, like I said, the left wing.
Are you sure it's that video? Because or am I being dense? I can't see it.
I'm not seeing it either.
Let me double check.
Yeah, see if you
You're
can find us
roboting real
some
bad as well.
timestamps or something, Brian.
I can answer that for you, Stingray. You are being dense.
I saw a meme. It's Sir Isaac Newton says, I like thick women. And he says, but Sir Isaac, shouldn't you word it more eloquently? Okay, how about this? The greater the mass, the more the attraction.
It ain't on
Yeah,
that
that
video.
works.
I'm sorry, man. I apologize.
It's all right, Brian. Just find it in your own time if you want. You don't have to do it now. But like I say, I'll add it to my little demonstrations because I pretty much guarantee you. Well, put it this way: I would be utterly fascinated if it doesn't work 100% only on the globe. It would fascinate the living hell out of me, and I haven't got great expectations on that, to be honest.
Try that.
Okay, well, there's JFK to Moscow.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Am I still roboting? Am I still roboting, Blue?
No, you're
That's
okay.
it, though.
You're okay now.
All right. Good.
It comes and goes. I like to call it matrixing because it sounds like, doesn't really sound like a robot. It sounds like when like Neo went to the Matrix and it went.
Still to this
my-
day, Sean, one of the funniest things ever is like, I don't know what you were doing hitting buttons at Jose's, but I made a video out of it. But the video really doesn't do it no justice. But when you put it on infinite and it started echoing, and
gotcha.
oh my
Yeah,
God,
I didn't do
funny.
anything. That was just me trying to talk, and
It just so happened to come, Sean. I just happened to make a comment. And I was like, "Damn, Sean broke YouTube." And I was talking about you showed your face. I was just fucking with you. I was like, "Good Lord, get that face off the screen." I was like, "Motherfucker done broke YouTube." I was just joking. And then it started right when I said that. It started doing that, dude. It was so funny, man. That was funny shit.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen on other streams. It's like it's just a glitch, and I couldn't stop it. I was like, "What the?"
It just gets worse and worse, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like a loop. It's like a feedback loop.
I'm gonna post a
Keep
video
going.
for anybody who hasn't seen that. It's funny as shit, man. I'm gonna post that next. It's like a 1 minute video, if that, but it's definitely worth watching. It's funny shit. I'm gonna post that real quick.
It is pretty funny.
I'm playing that JFK to Knoxville time lapse right now to YouTube, and you see the sun setting off sort of off the left wing, behind the left wing of the airplane.
Hang on, are you saying that plane's heading west?
This plane's going from JFK to Knoxville.
Which direction?
Which way
That
would
would be-
JFK to Moscow? I'm sorry.
Well,
I was probably saying Knoxville. I didn't mean that. It's JFK to Moscow.
I
So
go
where's
east, wouldn't
JFK
it?
Airport?
Huh?
New York,
pretty much
East
going to fly
Coast.
north for the first half, south.
New York to Moscow, right?
Yeah.
Be east.
I'd say its first direction to be northeast, doing the Great Circle
very
route.
much.
Yeah.
Very much so. It ain't going to see Paris.
Why would it do that? It would fly over England.
Now you can tell what I'm watching on YouTube anyway. And I can't share this to you guys in Discord, unfortunately. But
That's
now
okay.
you see
We don't mind.
now you see the sun is probably a little ahead of the wing.
Mm.
And eventually this thing is going to arrive or come close to, it's going to go to Moscow. But now let's see where the sunrise is.
I was going to say the sun went below the horizon there, didn't it?
Yeah, it was below the horizon for a while. It hasn't come back up yet. You can't see it yet. Actually, it is up now somewhere, but it looks like it's in front of the airplane.
Yeah, as he gets under it, it's got as you get under the sun, it's got to like start coming over and up. I would imagine on either model.
So we'll see where this thing goes.
Now, on a at that far north of latitude, right? The Gleason map doesn't do the flight path, a great disservice at that far north.
Right, but map out a Sydney to Santiago on the Gleason, and it's talk about the matrix. You have to.
That far south. So that's why, and that's also one of those weird things. Since most of the population planet and landmass of the planet is in the northern hemisphere, that's where all the flight routes are. And there's so few flights in the southern hemisphere, they go, they don't have that many examples. Or they say all the few examples that are there are all fake. But yeah, there's Australia, there's Australia to LA and Darwin to Buenos Aires.
Well, it just so happens I've drawn a great circle route on Google Earth from New York. There it is, New York. Over to, where did I take it to? Moscow, I hope. Let's see.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yep, Moscow. Yeah. So there's a great
goes,
circle route from New York to Moscow, shown right there.
You start off northeast, then you're flying due east, and then you're flying southeast.
Yeah. So, and of course that route can be can wiggle around a little bit depending on what air traffic control is telling them to do. But yeah, it would make.
But on a Gleason map, you don't. Gleason map just doesn't make any sense.
It would probably make perfect sense that the sun is going to be setting, and just behind the left wing of the airplane on departure.
Well, I mean, anything northern hemisphere. I mean, can't we all agree that anything northern hemisphere is pretty fucking close to matching the globe?
And on arrival.
No, we can agree that in the northern hemisphere, everything matches exactly to the globe.
And on arrival, again, the sun's going to be a little bit in front of the plane. And that's exactly what we saw.
How long a flight is this?
New York to Moscow? I'm going to guess 9 to 10 hours. 9 hours anyway. Probably 10. Probably closer to 10.
A whole lot of time.
Yeah.
Not just to change, so everything's dynamic. You have the changing position of the airplane and time.
Yeah.
I just kind of meant like where it's starting, because Flyer's map, what Stingray was saying earlier, has it kind of go in the opposite direction. It's kind of looping around pretty rapid. And in fact, that's what we see it with that video is we see it coming up pretty quick off the back left wing, so exactly what he's saying, it would have to do. That's what it's doing. This video depicts what he's describing it would have to do is pretty much showing that happening, in real time or in time lapse anyway. I'm not saying it's proof, but it's, it matches. It would have to do what Stingray's talking about doing. And I think there's parts I've seen some sunsets in Africa where you can actually see the sun on the horizon literally move to the right, like literally move off north. I don't think I could pull it up right this minute. I'd have to go on an extensive search, but I do remember seeing it. And I'm not sure I've seen it in any other location. I've not really paid much attention to it, but I do recall that sunrise, like drastically, just turning straight north basically as it set over whatever portion of Africa it was. I'm not sure of that either. Just remember it being Africa.
I'm not clear. I'm not sure I understood what you just said. You mean it didn't go straight down into the horizon like they do everywhere else, but it made a hockey stick left turn?
Where does it go straight down into the horizon? That
in the tropics.
Yeah, I guess maybe in the tropics by the equator, but it cuts to the right here, but there in Africa it was
like a hockey
like straight right kind of. It was weird.
make like a hockey stick, makes a turn.
Yeah, like it's turning, basically.
Yeah, you better have to find that video.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Well, I mean, there is
Yeah,
always
in that next episode. I don't think I could pull it up right this minute, man.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, there is always some diagonal movement of the sun as it sets, and so unless you're in the tropics at the latitude the sun is currently at, in which case it will drop vertically. Otherwise, there's always going to be a little lateral movement as it's setting. But it's not going to do, like I say, the hockey stick. It's not going to go. It's not going to go past us, go round, and come back the other way, which is what it needs to do on a flat Earth.
Right.
Like I said, the flat Earth that pretty much matches the northern hemisphere matches the globe. So whatever you see it doing is pretty damn close to what. I mean, I don't see the hang up. I mean, if you want to start talking about the South, you're gonna catch me in some potential problems. But as far as the North goes, it's it's pretty fucking similar.
No matter where you are on a flat Earth, the sun will never take a direct east to west path. It will always curve. That's not what we see in reality.
What are you talking about?
On a flat Earth,
why would
it
why would that
it
have
would
to happen
never
on a
be
flat
a
Earth?
straight line.
I don't
It
know.
would
Y'all got some ideas for flat Earths that I've never heard of. They're pretty much unique to what y'all say would have to happen on a flat Earth. It's kind of new to me, so it's gonna have to register.
I've demonstrated in Blender as Stingray's done, and it will never take a direct east to west line, 90 degrees to 100 to 270 degrees. It'll never do that.
It would
on a
have to
flat Earth.
involve. It would have to involve. I mean, there's only one place on Earth that happens, and it would have to involve. Let me explain something real quick. I could show you. I could probably explain it quicker than I could draw it. But I drew a head at the bottom of a piece of paper, just a head. You see, looking at the back of a head, midway up the piece of paper, just barely, almost midway. Just draw a line flat across. So that's a horizon. So y'all with me so far? Now, right in front of that head, you draw a sun right above that horizon, and then draw it halfway up the piece of paper to the top, and then one at the very top of the piece of paper. Do the same thing at the left side of the paper, just one sun on the horizon, one sun halfway up, one sun at the top, and then the same thing on the right side of the piece of paper. One sun at the bottom, right on that line of the horizon, one in the middle, one at the end. So you got 9 suns basically. So that head in the middle that's looking out at the sun, if you draw an angle from the sun to the left bottom sun right on the horizon, and then you draw a line to the top sun, just from it going up, just from it being higher, it's way less steep of an angle as it is being on the horizon. So the height, if the sun is doing circles, just the height alone is going to make a big difference. And that's something that would have to happen like on equinox, which is the only time that the sun goes straight across at the equator. But yeah, it'd have to do with elevation of the sun as it makes its path around. That's why I was mentioning that Pringle, and I don't have it 100% worked out, but that's what would have to happen for it to work on a flat Earth period. Because I see what you're saying with the straight line thing. That presents a problem. I'm trying not to go Pac-Man.
That's a major problem, Brian.
And I could just go Pac-Man though. I'd go full Pac-Man on Neil's ass and make it work. But no, I don't know if it worked. But no, I try and stick with the AE map. I'm working on one better.
Brian, we've just demonstrated that it doesn't work on an AE map. The AE map does not match reality at all. Why are you sticking with it?
No, that's the best thing available to me right now.
No,
I'm working on my own map. And
Brian, are you using an AE map that's centered on your location, or an AE map centered on the North Pole? Because I think you should use an AE map centered on your location. Because that's the thing about the AE map. It's not just a North Pole projection. You can put an AE projection anywhere you want.
Yeah, I know, but for celestial navigation, it's centered at the North Pole. That's, you see them arms on the Gleason's map that they ripped off and nobody knew what it was for. It
Yeah,
was
that-
for
yeah.
that's why he put scientifically accurate as is, because it was for celestial navigation and it worked.
No.
It's azimuthal equidistant, so it
Did you-
matches the
Did you,
azimuth.
did you happen to read the text in the upper left-hand corner where it says it's just a longitude time calculator? It's not even celestial navigation.
Right. No. Well, what do you think them arms were for then?
Oh yeah, for longitude. Yeah, just to scale so you could line up things easier for longitude correction. So if you want an AE map centered anywhere, well, then it's not going to be that easy for longitude. But nobody uses an AE map for celestial nav.
And
Really?
it still won't,
Who
it still
uses
won't
a
work.
globe? Who uses a globe for celestial nav? I mean,
Uh,
usually it's local maps or Mercator's or something like that. You ever seen anybody out at sea with a globe? Let's
The
be real
nautical,
now.
the nautical almanac uses the globe.
The nautical almanac uses circles around Polaris in the yearly cycle of this.
And also
Uses spherical
old
geometry.
navigators like Henry the Navigator and Magellan used an armillary sphere for navigation. That's an armillary sphere with an S.
And celestial navigation isn't just a Polaris thing. You've got all the tropical stars, which are even more difficult to use on a Gleason map. So no.
Yeah, but look, man, they don't use any circles around Sigma Octantis when you're lining it up. Okay, when you're working out your lines, you use even for the stars below the equator, you're still using the circles around Polaris. Okay, and it's broken down into 4 quadrants: east and west of the meridian, prime meridian, and north and south of the equator. But it's all based on circles around a center point of Polaris.
Has that been
Period.
your experience? Has that been your experience in navigating with the sextant?
Just looking at the almanac and looking at the circles and then looking at the ABC method of.
I just was wondering in your when you're going through the observations and worksheets. I don't think you've made any observations or done any of the calculations.
Would you no, but from what I've learned, I'm just going off what I've learned. Would you disagree with what I said? Is it not based on the circles?
Where have you
around
learned this,
the center?
Brian? On Nathan Oakley's channel from 10th
No,
Man?
not Nathan Oakley's channel. Okay.
From 10th Man?
No, I worked it out. I had to learn from scratch to tell McToon his fucking location.
I just used the arc from the GP of whatever star. So if I'm not using Polaris, then
It doesn't.
Then why would I have arcs from Polaris? I don't understand.
You think the almanac gives you GPs, bro, to stars?
No.
Okay, good.
You have to calculate them, right? And then
yeah, but
the
all the bodies, are based on the 360 degree around Polaris. Am I correct?
There's declination, which is angle, which is a latitude angle.
Not the declination. Yeah, I'm talking about the azimuth. Okay, I'm talking about right ascension. It's based on circles with Polaris being the center point, and basically, the prime meridian and the equator, celestial equator being in the markers.
Right ascension is against first point Aries. So, and then azimuth is against.
Why are you avoiding though that it's based on circles around Polaris? I mean, to being the center point.
Because, well, I'm not avoiding that, but I do agree that all the parallels of latitude all go around the North Pole. So that'd be kind of like circles around Polaris. So I'm not really understanding why you're insisting that just because, there are parallels of latitude, which do go around, the Earth, like going around the North Pole, which is kind of like going around Polaris, but that's called latitude.
Yeah, that's the circles, the circle of equal altitude, which
the declination is latitude, bro.
Me,
Right ascension is not latitude. Sorry, Sean.
Excuse me.
What's not latitude?
The
declination.
lines of latitude.
I meant no. I'm opposite. Declination is latitude. Sorry, go ahead, Sean.
lines of latitude are the circles of equal altitude of Polaris. That's all they're for. You don't, once you have your latitude, you don't worry about Polaris after that, even when you're taking your reading for navigation.
You don't worry about Polaris in the southern hemisphere anyway. You could actually use the southern celestial pole instead of Polaris in the southern hemisphere.
I've never seen that method. Do you agree with what Sean just said, that you don't even use Polaris for working outline? Do you agree with that?
Well, in the southern hemisphere, sure, because you can't see Polaris.
No, in the northern hemisphere. He said,
Okay,
like,
Polaris,
you don't even use Polaris.
Yeah, I don't
You
use
don't have
Polaris.
to.
I don't use Polaris like ever. I like Arcturus and Vega and some of the tropical stars because Polaris is so fucking high in the sky, I don't bother with it. But you can use any star.
I'm talking about for calculating the line. I'm talking about. Never mind. I don't even think y'all even know what I'm talking about. You know the ABC method of formulating to get the GP to get your line. Anybody ever heard of the ABC method? The fucking the method.
I'm not familiar with that 3-letter code. No.
What method do you use? Okay.
Haversine.
Oh my God. Never mind.
I'm curious what the ABC method is.
I don't know if you even know what celestial navigation is if you don't know what that is, but maybe you call it something else or something. Hold on, I need a minute, y'all, but I'll be right back.
Please elaborate.
Maybe he means the Pythagorean theorem.
Well, if you're going to use the Pythagorean theorem, you need to know the height of each star. Yeah, on flat Earth, you need to know that anyway. I mean, if you're going to find your latitude, you're going to need to know
the height of a
Polaris.
star. The height of a star is not calculated in
sorry.
celestial navigation. That's
Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
But to your question, Brian, the method I use is I have a table that has declination and right ascension at 0 hours universal time for every day of the year. And then I calculate with an expanded, very, strung out formula. I calculate my local hour angle and elevation. So I do that in a spreadsheet, and the formulary I use is from my 100-year-old textbook. So I don't use a Mariner's Almanac per se. I use an ephemeris published by the Hydrographic Office of UK. So I do the full math and not interpolating on tables. And then I calculate the azimuth angle. So I don't need Polaris for azimuth, and I don't need Polaris for latitude, and I don't need Polaris for longitude. Well, nobody can use Polaris much for longitude, but by using an array of stars, any cluster you want, including you could use the sun 3 times. You could use sun in the morning, midday, and afternoon. That counts as 3. So, and you could use, if you're not moving, it could be on multiple days. So yeah, the method I use is I have right ascension and declination at 0 hours UT, and from then on, it's the strung out full geodetic calculation.
I also bet that your calculations pretty much exactly match your GPS coordinates, don't they?
Well, there's additional astronomic corrections for deflection of prime vertical, and then there's I do fairly well, particularly with just azimuth. I'm in the 2 to 4 arc seconds typically on a hangover. And that's primarily the use of celestial is more common just for azimuth. But yeah, you can go. I've done the full navigation, using theodolite measurement to celestial obs, and the astronomic to geodetic agreement or deflection, the two factors, psi eta, that gets a little complicated. So if you don't care about a couple, 200 feet, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure most people who desperately need to do celestial navigation are probably not worried about a couple of 100 feet.
That's the whole point of the marine sextant. Is if you're out in open water, what the hell's a minute? Who gives a shit? And if you get close enough that you can see land, you put the sextant away.
Unless you don't recognize any of the damn land you're seeing.
Well, there is that. It depends on how lost you are. Yeah, it depends on how lost you are. The whole thing with using a sextant and having your DR, your dead reckoning position, because you're not starting from scratch. Now, you can. That gets a little more difficult, but you generally have a pretty good idea, even if it's plus or minus 10, 20, 30 miles, 50 miles, right? So you have a pretty good, so your DR is a good way to get going. And so the method I use, the only times I bother with it, I use line of position, and which you make that little triangle, which they call the cocked hat, and you iterate that 2-3 times, and you can get Nat's ass. So I'm using LOPs, which starts with a dead reckoning position, because at no point are you blindfolded, set up in Starlink, run around the planet 5 times and land somewhere and you got really no idea. No, you have some idea. If you left Massachusetts and you were heading to the Bahamas, you're in Atlantic Ocean and you're somewhere in the mid latitudes. That's a good enough starting point.
Like to say hello to Bandsaw. How you doing, Bandsaw?
Hey, Blue. How you going, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Are you live? Are you?
Yeah,
live?
We're live.
Oh, cool. Well, there's obviously I don't want to get into something with someone that's here, so I'm just going to sit back and relax. All right.
Bandsaw claims that the mechanical gyro
Blue,
compass needs to be pointed north and calibrated first.
Blue, shut him up. Otherwise, I'm going to lose my shit with this particular fellow here.
I just want you to explain that your discussions with the technician.
Sean.
See, the technician that says
Blue,
come on.
mute your stream, or shut him up, because I'm going to lose my shit.
Oh. Okay, that's enough. Right. Yeah, it'll be enough. Hey, actually, though, I think we've got somebody sitting here that does know a little something about gyro compasses.
IB Hunter. Yeah. IB and I have had a good chat for about an hour. So if Sean wants to talk to him about it, that is cool. But someone that is going to message me vile, disgusting messages like he did, right?
That you're a liar?
I am not. Go fuck yourself, you low-life piece of cunt shit.
You're a liar. You lied about having a discussion with a technician.
Crackhead, retard, low-life piece of shit.
Okay.
Right?
Sean, man, you got to be honest to call people liars, man. And
I am honest, Brian. I am honest.
Right? To not engage. So don't engage with me, you low-life piece of fucking crap.
Well, explain yourself. Explain this
not even
a piece of the technician that told you that you have to align the gyro compass with north.
Have a nice day, mate.
And
I asked
and have it calibrated.
Show, Blue.
Explain your technique.
Straight away.
Sean,
shut it down straight away, Blue.
I'm gonna mute you for a second. Let's try to settle down and keep it a little bit calm.
Thank you,
Sean. If you got questions with about anything to do with the gyro compass, the guy I would want to be talking to is IB Hunter. You want to talk to him? Hang on, I'll take you off mute. There you go.
No, I know how the gyro compass works. I was listening in on 24/7 or one of the other Discord channels, and Bandsaw was saying that it has to be pointed north and calibrated for north. And I wanted him to explain. And he claims that he talked to a technician that told him that. Yes, he did. You most certainly did.
Stop your fucking lying.
You most certainly did.
No, I did not say that at all. I did not tell what I said, Sean, you low-life piece of fucking shit that you are. What I said I rang up a gyro compass company and I spoke to a fellow in regards to what they did. And I came back and I repeated the conversation with eggshells. You low-life piece of fucking crap.
Hey,
you lied. You lied about it, Bandsaw. We never told you that it had to be pointed north, did he?
I never said
Let me
that
say something real
whatsoever.
quick. Anybody wants to see how honest Sean is? I just posted 13 minutes of Sean lying through his teeth video. I put it in live stream. Anybody wants to see how honest Sean Hawkins is?
You lied, Bandsaw. You said to that technician that company gave you, and it had to be pointed north.
I rang a gyro compass company and I spoke to a fellow there. I never said he was a technician or anything of the sort. I said I spoke to the fellow there. I even gave eggshells the details of the company that I spoke to, which you yourself, you low-life piece of fucking worthless crap, could have rung yourself.
And if I rung that company, they would tell me that you're full of shit for saying that you have to point the compass north.
They would have done that. They really would have done that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do not think so, because I never claimed that I spoke to a technician. I repeated the conversation that I had with this particular fellow. Now, he may have given me wrong information. I don't know. But I rang him and we had a conversation and I repeated exactly what he said. So I'm not a fucking liar. You're a piece of shit and go shove your ass up your grandmother's fucking ass, you low-life piece of crap.
And no company that sells the gyro compass would have told you that.
You got no idea. You had no idea. You are nothing but a pathetic fucking meth head. That's all you are.
I got a question. I was just curious. When they talk about, yes, it has to be pointed north and calibrated, is that at the time of servicing or when it's in operation aboard ship?
Who cares? That doesn't question his integrity of the man. Sean gets under people's skin, man, calling them liars.
Hold on.
And misquoting, man.
I'm talking about that previous conversation. I was curious about the core, the crux of that being, do they have to be pointed north at the time of servicing, or do they have to be pointed north every time you turn them on?
The basic conversation. This is Larry. Is this
Yeah.
Larry? Yeah. The basic conversation went when we were talking about gyro compasses one day and whatnot, and how they're calibrated and how they're basically set up. And anyway, I rang a company in South Australia, which at the time I gave the details, because Eggshells was very, very keen to actually know who I spoke to. So the conversation was between me and Eggshells. Anyway, I gave him the details. Now the fellow basically told me that at the time of manufacturing, and he wasn't a technician. I don't know even if he was actually, but the fellow that I spoke to said yes, they're calibrated, and they have to be calibrated for every particular situation. So if I was to buy a gyro compass, right, and put it on a ship, it would have to get calibrated to that ship. Now, if I was to get that same gyro compass and put it in my garage, the people that actually install them and come down, they have to calibrate it for that particular area, or wherever I am. So they said they have to calibrate them in regards to the magnetic interference that was around. These things have to be calibrated differently, or calibrated If you put the same gyro compass on a brand spanking new ship and you move it to an old ship, dilapidated ship, it'll have to be recalibrated because of the magnetic fields, electrical circuitry, and all that sort of stuff that are in the ships. And these were the basic things that he was telling me, Larry. And this is the information that I passed on at the time, what I was told.
Okay,
And he indicated, Ivy, I'll just finish. And he indicated to me in the conversation that these things were calibrated and they were set. Now, it was only a brief conversation of maybe 5 or 10 minutes. It wasn't very long at all. But at no time did I ever say that he was a technician or anything like that. I just said I rang up a company, right, in South Australia that sells these GPSs, and I spoke to the fellow there. So everything's on public record. There was no lies or anything like that whatsoever. That's basically how it went down.
Well, I'd like to hear from IB. Yeah, go ahead.
If you don't mind me asking, do you know what type of model, what brand or what model gyro compass he was talking about?
Oh, no, IB. We were just talking in general, to be quite honest with you. There was no particular model spoken about whatsoever.
What I would suspect is that it is probably a gyro-stabilized magnetic compass. That's not the same thing as a ship's gyro compass, because a ship's gyro compass doesn't have to compensate for any magnetic things. That's the general purpose behind them, is because they're totally non-magnetic. They're not affected by magnetic fields. They're not affected by metal in the area. So
are you going to stand by that statement?
I
hope you don't. Everything is affected by magnetics. Everything.
Well, that's the whole purpose of the gyro compass, is unless you have under normal magnetic fields that can be generated on a ship, unless you put it right next, even right next to a motor, it won't affect the gyro compass. You may have to be inside a SCR room of a bow thruster. Maybe you might have it affect something on there, but it's probably going to affect noise on the data lines more than the heading. It's going to, if you get enough electronic magnetic field, you could actually destroy electronics, but that's not under normal circumstances.
Yeah, just be careful. You've got 2 Australians in here now. You might get hurt.
Yeah, so IB, is that maybe why he said these things have to be calibrated, and if it was put on a ship, say put into, and the same thing I kind of put in my garage, this thing would have to be like calibrated and set. Yeah. Is that why you're saying
that would be that would have to be some sort of magnetic compass, maybe gyro-stabilized magnetic compass, but not a gyro compass.
Well, I did ask him specifically about gyro compasses. Now, whether or not he got confused or whatever, I don't know. But that was basically the information that he gave me, which is what I repeated.
I would suspect that he may have gotten confused, or they may have something on there. I know they actually sell some for not commercial. It's for record boats that are a gyro-stabilized magnetic compass.
And there are some caveats that may be unspoken at this point, where it's a major purchase, and in maritime law, it may have to be installed by a licensed technician and checked. So that would be where, if I just bought it and put it on a container ship, I'd be in violation of some insurance clause or maritime laws, unless a certified technician installs it and checks it.
Yeah, so, and that's what he did say, Larry, that an actual technician would have to come out and install it for you. That's something that he would do at all.
Okay, that would have to do more with maritime law or insurance regulations, or just, a good, that's how, commercial transportation is governed.
Yeah.
But in the FE Corps, they had bought a gyro compass, and they just put it in their basement, and they turned it on, and it worked, and they said, "Good God, it works," and I don't know how. And they would orient it, 150 degrees off, do a cold boot, 25, 30 minutes later, it found north, and they already knew where north was. So it wasn't a matter of getting it calibrated and adjusted for that environment of his basement.
He had to put in his latitude, though. The FE core, he had to put in his latitude.
You can't do that. Wait a minute.
Putting in a latitude is not the same as as having to already know your north, line it up and only turn it on after you get it oriented north. They showed quite the opposite. Okay, yeah, he did key in his latitude, right? And I've seen that in INS systems on airplanes. Yeah, not everything is complete free floating multi-point. So right, a latitude.
So IB.
But the point was, he turned it on and it found north. And no matter how he disoriented it when he turned it on cold boot, it still found north. And he said he didn't know how. Now, when I came into this conversation a little bit late, and I don't know the history of it, so I thought they were arguing that it needs to be pointed north at boot up, not necessarily calibrated at an installation in a maritime commercial container ship or cruise liner where there are laws. And at the time of service in a factory and manufacturing, yeah, it would have to be, tweaked and zeroed out. But I was thinking in daily operations. So if you're sitting in port for 3 or 4 weeks and you go out and you cold boot it, it's going to be fine without having to do anything preliminary.
IB, the fellow also indicated, like, if there was a major power outage on a ship and whatnot, that when they got to the next major port, that they would have to what they generally did was get a technician to come out and check everything, make sure everything was pointing north.
Which sounds a lot like an FAA regulation in an aircraft for commercial passenger flight.
Yeah, well, maybe it's just to cover people's butts and all that sort of stuff. I don't know exactly the whole technicality.
What I would suggest that it may be, what he may be referring to, is the gyro repeaters. The gyro itself, if you turn it back on, it doesn't matter where it's headed. It doesn't matter when you turn it on, where you at. Well, there were 3 months.
So
you're roboting a little bit, IB.
You broke up.
So I wonder if Sean has
on the ships required by law. They have to have gyro.
Oh, sorry. You were breaking up, IB. Didn't mean I overtalk you.
So sorry about that. Is that better?
No, you're still talking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, what is it that points north? Like, what is it exactly that points north on a gyro compass?
It's the sensitive element on the thing. It actually, the axis of the rotating element actually points north. But
where is it? What is it like what is it like a finger sticking off of it pointing? I mean, what is it that actually points north, and where is it located on as far as the compass?
It's like
as far as the gyro.
I'll post a picture of one of mine. Okay, I'll post it.
What side is it? In the middle of the what direction is it pointing?
The unit.
I posted the video, and the thumbnail of the video has a pretty good picture of it. And there is a compass card, which is a 360-degree ring, and the zero on that ring comes to north, and then you can read the the azimuth, the alignment of the chassis of the gyro compass. So,
question: is it 0 or 360? Please tell me.
it depends. Are you metric?
Dude, 360 degrees is the same imperial or metric, but is there a 0 and a 360?
Not really sure.
The answer is no. 0 is the 360.
I know they're equivalent. but I
Well-
don't know what's placarded on the thing. They might not even
It
have
would be
zero.
zero.
I bet
In
they don't have
aviation,
zero.
there is no zero. I don't know what they're talking. What you do with these
Yeah,
things.
I bet
There
I
is
bet
no
it doesn't
0
have zero,
degrees in
and
aviation.
yeah, I bet it doesn't have zero or a 360. It might just have the big letter N.
Maybe.
Anyway,
Oh, it's
Blue,
a big no.
Anyway, Blue, I'm going to run, man. Just thought I'd come in and address that. Sorry for making such a ruckus on your stream. But anyway, it is what it is. I presume that Sean isn't going to have the balls to apologise for calling me a liar. I don't think that's going to come out of his mouth
No apology
at all.
is going to be given.
That
because
video he
you-
just posted said that if he enters a
lied
false
in
attitude, that
the
if he
No,
enters a false attitude,
I didn't think so. I didn't think so, Sean.
Right.
But anyway,
You
I
lied
pretty.
and said it.
No, I didn't lie at all, Sean. I repeated exactly what happened. Right now, I asked what I asked, and I passed on the information that I got. So there were no lies told whatsoever. Right, so you just proved you actually continue to prove what sort
yeah,
of human
John's
being you
not
are.
honest, dude.
But
They know he's
but
not
it-
honest, bro. You don't let him
Yeah.
get so worked up, man.
No,
Everybody knows.
I know, Brian. Oh, well, we always have that. We all have our moments, don't we, Brian? At the end of the day. So anyway, Blue, I'm going to let you go, buddy. All right, thanks for letting me on. And
All right,
Ben,
Benson.
Benso,
Everybody.
before you jump off, Benso, can you hear me?
yeah, mate. Yeah.
Okay. What I'd suggest maybe take a look at gyro repeaters. If the ship loses, ships are required to have gyro repeaters in different locations, and they use a signal that comes from the main gyro compass called either a stepper or a synchro signal, and those are. If it loses a step in that signal, it'll not match the gyro compass. So the repeater, it requires on the signal to be the same throughout the thing. If it loses power, they'll unsynchronize. And that repeater back up, you have to bring it to a known point again, and then synchronize the repeat to the main gyro compass. That's totally separate than the actual gyro compass itself spinning up, but the repeater needs to be able to be synchronized. And it's easier to bring it to north, but you could bring it to any coordinate and synchronize them together.
Oh, okay.
And that, if that makes some sense, and I didn't talk with the person, but I'm trying to go off of what you said as to.
Yeah. And the name of the company was AMI Gyro Compasses in South Australia.
Okay.
Davros, you may know them. They're probably just around the corner from you, buddy.
I'm
actually,
actually in the US.
Where are they, Bandy?
Their exact address, well, they go Australia-wide, door to door.
Yeah, but I reckon they'd be around Jepp's Cross or Paraka somewhere.
Yeah, let me actually have a look to see
Give me a link. Wouldn't mind looking at it.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all heard me, but I just watched that video that somebody posted with the gyro compass, and in fact, he said every gyro compass, he said, has to the latitude has to be manually put in external, and he said if he put and then he tried to do he put in false latitudes, and he got false readings for north.
Yeah,
It won't be off by a lot, but it will be off some.
Yeah. You only need the latitude the nearest 10 degrees or something.
It's called latitude speed. It's primarily to determine for your speed. If you're not moving, it's not going to be off by hardly anything. It's mainly to determine your speed because it's measuring its own movement.
It also it also needs to know the declination of the gravity vector. You know, it's
right. Well, it kind of depends on the model of the gyro compass too, as to how big of an effect that makes. Different models.
Yeah, we all agree that gyro compasses prove. We all agree that gyro compasses prove a flat Earth, then, right?
Yeah.
No, we don't agree on that. I don't know why you would say that. What would possess you to say that?
Well, we all agree, right?
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
But he did say something about the gyro compasses having to be set for magnetic interference and stuff, depending on the ships and whether they've been what's the terminology? Is it degaussed or something?
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
That is.
Yeah, that would be for the magnetic compass, not the gyro compass.
So when the gyro compass points to the north, it points like
There we go.
along. It
There we
points
go.
on a tangent above the true north or something.
It lines up axis of rotation.
Because like if I'm on the equator, technically north would be down 45 degrees, right?
No,
parallel
technically north is parallel to the line of longitude. So it'd be parallel to the line of longitude. And if you go to 45 degrees north, north is still parallel to the degree of longitude.
But it's pointing off in
Brian.
space though, right?
What it's doing is aligning itself with the rotational axis of the Earth.
Right, but it's pointing
That's
out
what
in
it's
space
doing.
though. Think about it.
It's pointing
No matter
off
which
any
way it's
direction.
pointing.
It's pointing off any direction it needs to align itself with the rotational axis of the Earth. That's what it's doing.
But in every case scenario, I understand that. But in every case scenario, it's pointing off into space.
It's never pointing
Okay,
toward
consider it pointing to Polaris. Okay, that's close enough. That works as a concept. It's pointing to Polaris.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah. I guess if you're at the equator, yeah, it'd be pointing at Polaris. Yeah. All right.
Oh, well, okay. Cool bananas. Well then, you told me some interesting things anyway, so that was it, and you seem to have cleared the Ivy, so thank you very much for that. So we can move onwards and upwards, so they say. I sent you the link to IB.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. I'll check it. I'll check it out.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's just a it's just a place in South Australia that.
And for those of you who like spacefaring, Raytheon Engineering has just built a factory here in South Australia too, by the way. Because guess what? We're launching by the end of the year.
Guess who my son wants to work for?
Ours.
Yeah. Exactly. Anyway, guys, been good chat.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you later.
All right. See you later,
All
Ben.
right,
So.
mate.
Thanks,
All right,
man.
see you,
So,
Blue.
welcome anytime, buddy.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Dude, apparently Blue knows Bandsaw good enough to let that slide, because I mean I've literally spent hours and hours in and I think he's a mod over in Earth Awakenings, but I've never ever heard him call anybody and name it all, much less get so mad. It's like Sean has that effect on people, man. Like, man, it ain't just me.
Well, I called him out. He didn't like that.
Yeah, but you call people liars, man. A lot of people,
I called him out. Which is
we have
calling him a
integrity,
liar.
man, and we make sure we go out of our way to make sure that we're telling the truth to the best of our ability, man. And for somebody that's important to, like him or me, it's one thing being wrong, but for you to say somebody's lying, man, it hits somebody's honor, man. And you shouldn't do that, man, unless you're an honest person. And if anybody wants to check his honesty, like I said, I posted a 13-minute video with Sean Hawkins and just how honest that man is.
So honesty is important to you, Brian? Is it really?
Yeah, man. I'm trying to teach that to my children, man. It is very important. You're nothing without if you don't have your word. If your word means nothing, then anything you say counts for shit, dude. Anything. So you tell the truth to the best of your ability.
Or humility. You think humility is important too?
Well, if anybody who thinks Sean's honest, just watch the video I posted. He's a piece of shit liar. Sorry.
So when I reran an Eratosthenes experiment with Jesse Klazowski, the guy in Maine, and myself, and we did that on multiple days and using our best equipment, and I come up with a radius of 3969 miles. Am I wrong or lying?
You mean 3959?
No, actually, for the latitude I was at, it was 3960.
Yeah, but when y'all were talking about that, and Rumpus even kind of called y'all out, not really called y'all out, but he asked y'all, he's like, so did y'all, what kind of measurement was y'all going off of in between y'all and everything? But basically you're going off the globe distances y'all were away from each other and holding them true, just assuming they were true, using them. I think, man, if we're going to get right down technical and do Eratosthenes, we need to really zero in on these distance measurements. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying.
Okay.
But there was another point that I forgot. But if I think of it, I'll tell you. But go ahead.
I just used a pure simple distance between the antennae of GPS. Is that not a good enough distance?
No, I'm not saying that y'all's distance was wrong, but I had another point. He asked a question, and I never even thought of it until he had asked, and I'm trying to think of what it was, but it kind of left a little flexibility in the situation. But I don't want to say it because I can't think of it right offhand. I'm trying to think though.
So when I agree with every textbook, am I appealing to authority or am I agreeing with textbooks?
What do you mean?
Am I trying to make my numbers look
No,
like?
if you measure it and it matches what the textbook says, then yeah, it's empirical and it matches your measurement.
There you go. I've been told that I'm just made my numbers match the textbook and not the other way around.
But okay, so let's start here. So we're, he wanted some flat Earth proofs, and I just didn't take it a second. I don't think I could really present them all, but I could present a handful of them. I'll be honest and say I don't think anything anybody brings any one thing is 100% proof, but some are better than others, and I'll say that we present a lot of proofs to y'all, and the next day your brain resets like we never even presented a proof at all, or an experiment or a test, like you never even seen it. It's weird, so we have to keep presenting them over and over and over. But so I just brought a small handful of flat Earth proofs, and
Yeah.
for starters,
Yeah.
for starters,
I think
every time you present your evidence, we knock it down, Brian, and we educate you on why it's wrong. And you keep coming back, reset every single time. Okay?
You say it's like we did, like the next day we didn't even think, we didn't remember you had a proof. No, on the very day you presented it, we found that wasn't a proof. So you can never get out of the starting gate.
Okay, well, that's what you say, but I mean, to say that we didn't present any evidence is that's not.
Okay, what you presented what you presented did not satisfy evidence.
All right. Why you debate this subject if you don't think you're having to take a closer look at this evidence to try and disprove it? Why are you, if it's that cut and dry? Why are you in this topic? Why?
We're just hoping that one day you'll do better or wake up.
See, Brian, you're not humble enough to accept answers from anybody but yourself. That's your problem.
Sean Hawkins 13-minute video posted in live text. Anybody?
Yeah.
Anyway,
me explaining the lunar wave and you being all salty and butthurt about it.
No, you lying through your teeth.
I wrecked your belief.
Sean, you can. I could care less about the lunar wave. It's your honesty is the topic of that video. If you ever humble yourself and just admit you lied, man, we can move on. I won't make a big deal out of it, and I'll be like, no big deal, man.
Don't even.
It's not like you were right or wrong. It was just bold-faced lying, Sean.
You are the least humble person on the internet, dude. You are so proud and so arrogant and so egocentric. You cannot accept truth or evidence or anything from anyone except the flat earth.
Very good. If one thing being wrong about something, it's another thing just blatantly lie.
You're wrong about everything, Brian.
About your blatant lies, like I said, we can move on, Sean.
You're wrong about everything, Brian, and I wasn't wrong about the lunar wave.
It's not just that. That whole video is full of you lying, Sean.
It's the first step toward educating yourself is being humble.
The whole video, Sean, the whole video has you lying. It's not just about that, okay? So get over it.
It's your opinion that I'm lying. It's your opinion. You have not proven that I'm lying, Brian.
If you claim this man lived, just for the first one, that was the very first one, so it looks like you watched 2 seconds of the video. So if you claim that the man lived near an airport and that's why he's seen that, then I ask you, do you know where he lives? And you say no. that means you lied. You don't know where he lives. You claimed he lives near an airport, and all you had to do was say, yeah, well, I was wrong. I was wrong. I don't know where he lives. That would have been the honest, humble, honorable thing to say. That's
To
not
get
what you
that,
said. You said
to
he
get
has to
that
live next
effect,
to an airport. Otherwise, why would he have seen that?
to
That's
get that
dishonesty, bro.
effect, to get that effect, you have to be near an airport for an airplane to be near you.
So that's honest to you. So since you know that to get that effect, you have to be near an airport, and you say that he lives near an airport, you make that claim, and then admit you don't know where he lives. That's called a lie, Sean.
If a person takes a video showing the sun, and I say he's in sunlight because the sun is up, and you say, well, where does he live? I don't need to know where he lives. I just need to see evidence that the sun is up, that he's filmed, Brian.
But don't claim you know where he lives.
I never claimed to know where he lived. I
You
claimed
said he
that
lives by an
near an
airport.
airport to where airplanes should cross his field of vision and put out heat. That's what I
Ladies
claimed,
and gentlemen,
Brian.
I rest my case. Y'all see where he's going. Y'all see he won't humble himself. There's no humility in this man. He gets this with everybody. He calls everybody a liar. He's projecting. The man's not honest. There's a bunch of other lies in that video. It's not just that
You
one.
know how many?
No, I call liars liar. I call liars liars.
You know how many airports there are out there? So if I'm standing next to an airport and I does anybody know where I am? No, just an airport doesn't say which airport.
Larry, just be honest, okay? And Sean will probably interrupt me, but if he doesn't, okay, if you say you see the lunar wave, okay, and you claim with 100% certainty that he lives near an airport and that's how he shot that, and if you don't know where he lives, is that an honest claim?
I have no idea what the hell you just meant by that. Yeah.
Okay, he just claimed he lives near an airport, and then he admitted he doesn't know where he lives. Is that dishonest to you?
I took
if
that
you
to
hold
mean-
fast to the lie.
I took that to mean he doesn't know which airport.
No, if you say he lives near an airport, then you admit that you don't know where he lives. Is that, if you stick fast to the dishonesty when you don't know where he lives, is that honest or not? I mean, it's just a simple question, dude.
He said he was near an airport and did not know where he lived. That is not a contradiction.
Oh, for fuck's sake, dude.
Without the video saying that he lives near an airport would be a fallacious statement. But I see evidence that he's near an airport because I see the heat wave coming off planes that are making a lunar wave.
Okay, and hold on, Sean. Okay, now he got one lunar wave in 3 years, dude. In 3 years, he got one lunar wave of all his fucking shots of the moon. Now you're gonna tell me it's because he lives near an airport is how he got that. You are a lying sack of shit, dude.
Okay, and your point is?
That was my point, man.
He caught it once.
Well, he lived near an airport that day, Sean. Just humble up, man. For fuck's sake, humble up.
Don't talk to me about being humble, Brian. You've never humbled yourself, ever. Ever.
Whatever, dude. All right. Anyway, so I'll have some evidence. Proofs is maybe not the right word, but I'll bring some evidence. What intrigued me, what got my interest, what to me makes it a good debate is first and foremost, I'll say, the Earth presents itself as flat and motionless. So just right on its face. When we walk outside and look around, when we look at flat bodies of water, they appear flat. They mirror and all that. That could be, and everything I bring up here can be argued. Okay, that's part of the debate. But I think there's some interesting evidence, though, man. So first and foremost, the same thing we see down here at the ground when we go up, like 100,000 feet, 120,000 feet, we see out a long way, and the horizon seems to come up with us. I'm not saying it rises up to eye level. That's not possible. You're looking straight out. If it's whatever you're looking at, it's below you. So it ain't exactly at eye level, but it rises with the eye. It rises with eye level all the way
Thank
up.
you. Thank you for the glow proof that you can see
And
further.
anything you see like with NASA and like ISS, there's always that horizon. Even if they angle the screen, there's always that horizon midway or close to midway in that screen. And that's to me. I'm gonna post a video real quick and just doing the math, looking at the capsule for Felix Baumgartner. The circumference of that little opening seems to be about 2.5, 3 foot. And maybe the camera in the back behind his head is, I'll say 4 foot at its greatest. That leaves you between like about a 35 and 45 degree line of sight that camera has outside that capsule. We'll even just say 50 degrees just to be safe. And so that means the bottom half of it we'll call 20 to 25 degrees of sight out of there. So in this video, I marked the horizon as close as I could get it at ground level, and just left a mark. I just drew a L for the lack of graphic skill, programs. I just went into editing and drew a lowercase L, turned it sideways, and extended it. So it made it look like a line at the beginning of the video, and I just left it on there. So later on, when he gets up to altitude, before he stands up, where he's still sitting down, same position he was in when I marked it, and that line matches the horizon out in the distance. Now the bottom half of that hole represents, let's say, 20 degrees or 25 degrees. At that height, at 128,000 feet, you're talking around 7.5 degrees downward. The horizon should be from that elevation. And if we say the bottom half of that door, that circular door is, if we just say it's 20 degrees and it's supposed to be 7 degrees down, that's like a third. It's supposed to be 1/3 lower in that half of the hole. But like I said, it lines up perfect. And when they try to, like when Mr. Sensible did Mage, he's showing like curvature off to the left and the right. But my point is straight out. It's supposed to be dropping away from us straight out in the distance. And the higher up, the further we see straight out, it doesn't seem to drop down. But I'll post a video, and that's my first evidence if y'all want to rebut that.
I just posted a video in live chat called "Why Should We See Curvature?" Shows that I took a 4,000 unit circle in radius, 4,000 unit radius circle, could be feet, inches, miles, whatever. And I took about 250 mile arc out of that, and it looks flat when you bring it full screen. So yeah, why should we see curvature? That's the thing. It's a huge planet, Brian. It's huge.
The fact that we see further when we go higher is proof of the curvature, that you are seeing further over the curve.
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone of the wise words of MC Toon. You gotta lie to flirt.
Oh my God. He admits that we see further and doesn't realize that this is a observation of curvature. Got
it. And we don't see far enough for flat. Flat needs to be a whole lot farther.
Exactly. I can see the sun at sunset, and I was talking. I can see the sun at sunset. I can see the stars at sunset. They're at least 6,000 miles away, but I can't see Hawaii that's 2,500 miles away. Yeah, right.
You've got that one mountaintop across the Mediterranean from the Pyrenees into France. Yeah, you get up about a couple thousand feet up, and you look across to another mountain that's even higher. Yeah, it's 275 miles away. On a good day, you can just barely see it. Okay, yeah. Does that prove flat? No, because otherwise you'd see a whole lot more of that mountain all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, but anybody who looks at the high altitude balloon footage, it looks flat. Okay, whatever we measure, with the eye, we're just using common sense. A kid could look at it and look out in the distance. It looks flat as shit.
And that's a big so what? A camera.
That's way up there too, man. So not only does it have to drop down the ground underneath you, straight out, on a globe, it would have to drop 20 miles that are like 22 miles or whatever it is. Actually, it's like 25 miles, I think it is, around there. And then it's also got to drop an additional like 55 miles. So the ground that's coming up at eye level straight out from the distance could represent like 75 miles of drop, and it's coming up with. Why is it not dropping down to 7 degrees? The ball necessity.
Was it gyro stabilized? I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing the horizontal reference.
Yeah, was there a level put on the camera, Brian?
Yeah.
How do you know that was eye level?
It's the same view. It's the same view we see from the ground. He's just sitting there, and it's pretty stable.
It's a capsule hanging from a balloon. All right. Now, what is the stabilizing mechanism? And are those little, angles reported anywhere? No, it's dangling.
I addressed this in my video, though, Larry. I addressed this in my video, and it shows you where he's hanging at the ground. He's hanging. He's not like it's not sitting on the ground. It's hanging from a crane string, and he's sitting. When he's sitting down, it stops rocking. I don't know if there's gyros that stabilize him. I imagine there would have to be for it to stay so still. And so this is before he stands up in the capsule. He's sitting there, and it shows that thing is very, very stationary. It shows it for a good duration of time, like almost a minute, or I forgot exactly, but like a long time, showing live, from him sitting in that seat, and the line never moves off the horizon. It's supposed to be over 7 degrees downward.
No, you're right. It doesn't. I did a video on that too, Brian. I don't know if you ever watched it.
Yeah, I remember.
But you really can't
You
glean
raised up a fair point, dude.
You really can't
Go ahead, I'm
glean.
sorry.
You can't glean very much from the position of the horizon that you're seeing out that capsule, while that crane thing was buckled up to the capsule itself. You notice that when he climbs in there, nothing moves. The horizon never moves. So it could easily have been affecting the position of the capsule while it was sitting on the ground. But, we got other things that you can look at, like the videos that Wolfie has posted many of, where you see the sight line, the eye line, and the horizon 3.5 or 4 degrees below it.
And the sun.
The sun below the line of sight, too. Eye level,
Well, we
so
can
to
see
speak.
this in other videos, too, though. You brought up at least an explanation. You're the only one who did respond to that with the degrees and all that. And it's an explanation, it could be fact, and it could be, it's hard to prove either way, but it's a good evidence just from looking at it and other altitude footage. It looks flat as shit out there, man. From even the higher up you go, the flatter it looks, man. And in my opinion, it's hard to argue that one. It's not to me, it's not 100% flatter proof, but it's damn good evidence, man. If you're looking for evidence, there's a good place to start.
Yeah, Brian. I spent several years in the British Royal Air Force as a air defence radar technician, and one of my jobs was to do calibration checks on the radar, which basically entails checking to see at what range we can see aircraft at a particular altitude. Okay. Now I'm going to stick a couple of graphs or images of graphs in the live chat, and here we have a problem. At around 200 miles.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we'll take a look at them, but I think I'm I don't think we have a whole lot of time left. But we could do that like next stream. If you can rebut the evidence I posted so far, or let me carry on if you don't mind.
Thank you. The problem you have is that if the underlying surface was flat, we should see targets at 200 miles at about 3,000 meters. The problem is that we don't see those targets below about 10,000 meters. That's a 7,000 meter discrepancy. Okay?
Okay,
And
well, is that a flat Earth proof?
no, it's a flat Earth.
Well, like I said, let me present some of my proofs, and that's what he was asking for. And I will look over the that you posted and everything. If you say you posted it in the text, live stream text.
I've stuck it in the live stream text. Yes.
Yeah, I have to go. I will go over that afterwards, and we can have a conversation on that. I've heard that before, and I'll bring you our side of that. And if there is one,
I would like you to seriously explain the 7,000 meter discrepancy, and I'd like you to explain it using numbers and actual hard figures, not just blah blah hand wave.
I'll do my best. But number two, you good if we do that later, Alan? Like, or on like say the next stream, give me some time to go over it and everything, so I can try and bring you some numbers, explanations.
Yeah, I think it's fair to let Brian have time to look at it.
Yeah.
I'll definitely check it out though. Like I said, I will definitely check it out, and I will if I can come up with an explanation, or if there is one existing, I'll present it. But it sounds like a pretty good evidence on its face, so we'll definitely have to talk about it. But so number two, for evidence, I bring up a video. It was took from a longer, like 55-minute video, but I took the good information. All the data from his shots and his positioning and all that is on the longer video if you care to watch it. It was Jay Tolan Media, and he goes to the California Aqueduct, and it's like over 400-mile thing. So they say, they don't really use curvature considerations in engineering unless it's something over 250 miles, and then if they have to add for the curvature, and or else it'll be wrong. And maybe the numbers may be lower, but that's what I've always heard. Okay, that's not the point. Point is, this thing's over 400 foot long, so obviously, if we're on a globe, it needs curvature consideration. So he found a spot where he had a great angle down to 0.5 degrees up to 7.5 and a couple mile range, and he shot the top of the aqueduct, and the aqueduct claims to have 3 inches per mile of slope for the water to drain, and there's gates ran periodically. There's gates, and he gets, and he does indeed shows measurements, and they match the curve of the Earth over that couple miles with the 3 inches per mile with the 6 inches added on basically. And he scratches his head. He goes down, and he thinks, well, wait a minute, this is a man-made structure. So he goes down, he measures the water from the water level to the top of the aqueduct. And by the time he got to the gate at the end, there was a 15-inch discrepancy. So you could say that the water didn't care that the aqueduct itself followed the curvature of the Earth. It just does its thing and remains level or sloping that the 3 inches per mile dictates. So he spoke with a worker on the aqueduct who charts the levels, and the guy was showing him the levels and saying that the water, it's showing that it's not consistent with the water levels, that there's water flowing underneath the gates, and the electronic sensors are at the top of the gate for the water that comes over the gate when it builds up, and it's not calculating the water going under the gate. He calls the office, and they they just brush it off, and like they don't even believe him or something. And he's tried to present that case, and that's just an interesting side note. But so number two for my flat Earth evidence is the California Aqueduct with precision instruments showing that it is indeed sloping with the curvature of the Earth, but the water is not. All right, rebuttals.
Yeah, it better be doing better than sloping with the curvature of the Earth if it's an aqueduct, because if it's just following the curvature of the Earth, it's an aqua puddle.
Yeah, no, it's 3 inches per mile additional.
I have an observation on something, Blue. You said it follows the curvature of the Earth, but the Earth is not curved. That doesn't make follow. It makes no logical sense.
Well, it's 3 inches per mile is the curve from level. So if the aqueduct is indeed curving, this is the whole point. I'll keep it short since I've already presented this. If the aqueduct is flowing at 8 inches per mile drop, or if it's constructed in that fashion, then in between every gate, okay, then with a 3 inches slope on top of that, then it should reflect in that. But what you got at the gate at the bottom, the water was 15 inches higher. In other words, it was still level, which is just a few inches of slope from beginning to end. It didn't care that the aqueduct was constructed to follow Earth curve. It just went on its merry way, so it was flat.
Yeah, exactly. The aqueduct is constructed to follow Earth curve. That's what you just said. But then it doesn't logically follow to say that Earth doesn't curve if it does follow the Earth curve.
Yeah, but the water level didn't reflect that. Like I said, the water level, a little less than 2 miles down, like a mile and a half, I think it was 15 inches higher. Okay, instead of being down and it being level the whole way, maybe just like 3 or 6 inches higher because of the slope. It was 15 inches higher.
Where did you post that, Brian?
I put it in the text, the BMS text.
General text or general chat? Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think the one I've been posting everything in. And anybody who wants to look at it, we don't have to discuss it now. Y'all could just tell me the rebuttals like Lael just did, or I could move on to the next one. But I think it's a decent evidence, man.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, I see it.
I don't get how it's evidence of a flat Earth if the aqueduct follows the curvature of the Earth. If the Earth has no curve, how could it follow the curvature?
Well, that's just it, Lael. I mean, that's the point. Whether it's right or wrong, okay, the fact of the matter is, we've seen the tape measure, okay, it's 15 inches higher. The water, in other words, the aqueduct is sloping like there's curve. But what would happen if you sloped an aqueduct? Let's say that was about, let's say it's about 10 inches of fall over, around a mile and a half, okay? And the aqueduct is built like the Earth is curving, and then you have 3 inches on top of that for slope. So you'd have about 13, 16 inches of drop. But what you have instead of that, and if the Earth is flat, what you'd have buildup of water down at the bottom. And if there was no gates, it would spill over. I mean, I could argue that if there was no gates, the water would build up and spill over at that length. But the fact of the matter is there are gates, but the water's built up. It's not supposed to be that much higher, Lil. It's not supposed to be 15 inches higher.
The aqueduct's built with curvature of the Earth in mind. What are the gates for again?
For relief.
Okay, so it's built with curvature, but yet the Earth is not curved. Perfect.
So
let's say this: if he's right, and if I'm right, that's exactly what we would expect if curvature considerations were built in, and the Earth is indeed flat. That's exactly what we would expect. We would expect a pretty much measurable, similar addition water height at the bottom instead of a level 3 inch per mile slope.
And by the way, when it comes to elevations, curvature of the Earth is always, it has nothing to do with, whether or not you're going, half a mile or 400 miles. Curvature of the Earth is always in elevations because it is the radius, they're all radius of the Earth. I mean, when I hear the word drop, I just, only flat Earth people use the word drop. I mean, it doesn't exist because.
What should I use instead of that? And I'll make sure I do it.
Okay, from a horizontal line, which is tangent to the Earth at your location, you go out there a mile. And you go down 8 inches perpendicular to that tangent. You end up back at the same elevation. So
No, I
it's
mean,
not
what word should I use? Like just one word to put in my sentence that is
Go
fair.
ahead, use drop. Go ahead, use drop. Everybody has understood it. I don't.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to, I understand what you're saying, Larry, but I'm just trying to
Stick with
put it
drop.
so everybody knew what I was talking about.
The problem is when you're talking about drop along a canal or an aqueduct, that's not. There's a drop in elevation, which is not 8 inches per mile squared, because 8 inches per mile squared is in fact no change in elevation. So you go out there 5 miles, which is 25 times 8 inches, quote, drop. That's to come back to a 0 elevation change.
Right.
So
Right. So in a mile and a half. Oh, I thought you was done.
I have a hard time using, I just cringe when I hear the word drop to have a 0 elevation change.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. So over a mile and a half, and we have a 3-inch per mile slope. If the water was level and matching the globe, and over a mile and a half, what type of water height would we expect at the bottom with a 3 inches per mile slope? What level would we expect at the bottom compared to the top?
Well, if you go a mile, you have an elevation change of 3 inches. If you go 10 miles at 3 inches per mile of elevation change, you got 30 inches. I don't know what you're.
How about a mile and a half?
Then it sounds like 3 inches times 1.5 or 4.5 inches.
Right, about 4.5. So we would have expected the water over a mile and a half with 3 inches per mile slope. We would have expected the water level to be approximately 4.5 inches higher at the bottom, but it was 15 inches higher, Larry, over that mile and a half.
If Jay Tollins did it, I have no confidence he did it right. I have no idea from what you just said, really what you're trying even to describe.
Well, he showed all the data. He showed a lot of the shots through the scope. He showed the layout.
The last time I looked at a Jay Tollins video, he had measured vertical angles from Palm Desert to San Jacinto Peak, and he said he was absolutely sure that the peak was 10,833 miles or 833 feet elevation. But damned, he's 200 feet short, and he showed all his angles. And I said, wow, if he'd only thrown in that damned 8 inches miles squared and taken off 10% for refraction, it would have been exact. It was like an impressively exact measurement. And he goes, oh, it's 200 feet lower. How come nobody has done this before? And he showed all the data, and I went through and just like opened up my 100-year-old textbook and said, oh my God, Jay Tollins has the most precise measurement I've seen by anybody in very long time. 10,833 feet. It's beautiful. And Jay Tollins reproduced it.
So your mind is just you're looking at Jay Tollins trying to discredit him, but you're missing a very important fact here. Okay, regardless of whether you trust his measurements or not from up that hill, which he showed the data and he showed the angles through his digital, equipment, and whether you believe that or not, he got down, okay, and started his walk, put the tape measure down to the water and splashed it a little bit to show it was right there on the water, and showed the top of the aqueduct at the angle. Then he walked down, okay, toward the gate, got to the gate. He stopped once in between and got a 3-inch difference. And then he stopped at the end and he put his tape measure down to the water, and it was 15 inches altogether, approximately 15 inches. So his tape measure to the top of the aqueduct. So whether you trust his measurements or not, that tape measure don't lie. Okay. Unless you think he cut and sliced.
He was measuring 15 inches down from what?
From the top of the aqueduct to the water level.
So did he have the precise elevation from where he measured down from?
The water level. He put his tape measure, splashed it on the water level.
And he got 15 inches to where? Top of the gate?
Larry, I would rather if you just watched it, man. You spoke to people.
Yeah.
We could.
Hey, I'll watch it. I'll watch it. I'll be back here.
I'm not saying you won't have an explanation, but the one you gave is just discrediting him. it's irrelevant because, like I said, he shows the tape measure, and we could discuss it further next time. I got a few other things to present, but it's a good,
a source of truth on
it's a head
something he doesn't
scratcher.
have any experience with.
It's not a head scratcher. He made a simple calculation error, I'm sure.
A calculation error. Okay, holding the tape measure from the water to the top of the aqueduct.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's going to be okay. I'll have to see the video because I don't know he's measuring from what. Did he have a precise set of elevations along to where he's measuring, comparing these water heights?
Yes, he measured the aqueduct. And he showed his measurements. It matched. It matched the curvature of the Earth plus 3 inches. He looked it up. He presents the information showing that
it matched the curvature of the Earth. Perfect. The Earth
plus 3 inches plus 3 inches of fall. The aqueduct itself. You asked me a question. Allow me to answer. It matched the curvature of the Earth plus 3 inches per mile in the section he measured, and he posted where it says it's 3 inches per mile and that it follows the curvature of the Earth. But the water didn't care. The water laid flat. That's the whole point. He showed it with a tape measure. So his measurements are irrelevant for the most part.
Let's have a look at it and see.
Match the curvature of the Earth, therefore the Earth has curvature.
Well, let's have a look at it and see what he did. I haven't seen the video, so I don't have any. I can't really make. I don't want to make any comments about it, really.
Have you ever watched the Jay Tolan
That's
video?
a fair stance. That's a fair stance, Blue. And then, there's
probably I ask one question about it though. It is an aqueduct. Was the water stationary? Was the water still, or is it flowing?
I'm under the impression it looked pretty stationary. I'm under the impression that the gate opens about twice an hour. I could be wrong, but it looks pretty stationary to me at the time of the measurement.
Okay. We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, and I mean, if anybody comes up with an explanation, I would put it on Blue Marble Science. He'll give y'all a side of the argument, and like I said, none of these are to me 100%. They're good. They're good proofs. They're good evidence, and
I just don't understand. Blue, can you help me understand the logic? If the aqueduct follows the Earth's curvature, the Earth has curvature, therefore it's not flat. Isn't that more logical than to say it follows the Earth's curvature, therefore the Earth is flat because there's 3 inches of difference?
Well, I don't know that that you maybe trying to pull a little too much out of what Brian's saying.
Yeah, put your flat Earth hat on, Blue, and just explain it to him, like from my point, like what I'm trying to say, basically. Just put your flat Earth hat on for a second before you look into the video, and just try and explain it to him like what I'm trying to say. You might be able to word it a little better. Well,
I know what Lael's trying to come at too, Brian. I mean, if you look at it and say, okay, this thing is following the curvature of the Earth, but the Earth is flat, it doesn't make sense. That's what Lael is coming around to.
Zero sense.
Right. So he obviously doesn't understand my point. That's why I was asking you to put your flat Earth hat on just for a second. I'm not saying you agree with it, but try and do a better job than I did of presenting my case.
Well, let's leave it at this. Objection noted, Lael, and let's have a look at this and do it calmly and see what we come up with. By the way, shout out to Rodman for Canadian $2, and he says, "Show it." I don't know what he wants you to
Or
show.
in other words, just steel man it. See if you can steel man it, Blue.
Right now, I'd rather not, Brian. I don't know what Jay Tolan may have done or not done. I've not been terribly impressed with the guy over the years. The stuff I have.
Yeah, I'm not saying you agree with it or everything's tip top. Yeah. Like I said, I'm just saying if you could explain Lael, he don't even understand my point. Is what I'm saying. If you could steel man my point, whether it be right or wrong, at least he'll understand my point. What I'm trying to say. I don't think he gets it. I was just seeing if you could steel man it so he even knows what the hell I'm even saying.
I get it perfectly. The aqueduct follows the curvature of the Earth. If the Earth has curvature, it can't be flat.
What he's saying is the water is not following the curvature of the earth.
If it's in the aqueduct flowing through the bottom of the aqueduct, flowing on the bottom surface of the aqueduct, inside the aqueduct, and the aqueduct follows the Earth's curvature, it doesn't make sense to say it doesn't follow the Earth's curvature.
Let me put it like this, Lil. On a globe Earth, on its face, we can look into it further and see water flowing and where exactly the gates are. But in this example, okay, we would expect the water to be 4.5 inches higher on a globe Earth, because that's how much slope there is according to the globe. But when we get to the bottom, we see 15 inches. The water's 15 inches higher. So that slope that's supposed to be there is actually reflected in the height of the water. In other words, this is what would happen if the earth is flat and the aqueduct is built as if, with curved considerations. That's exactly what we'd expect. We'd expect higher levels of water down at the bottom, on its face. That's the argument.
The water that's flowing across the bottom surface of the inside of the aqueduct, if that bottom surface is following the curvature of the earth, that bottom surface of the water is following the curvature of the earth, and the earth has curvature.
Lael,
did you look at the video there, Lael?
It's not a pipe, Lael. It's like a river. It's like a stream.
Well, I said the aqueduct.
Yeah, like a canal kind of. It's like a cement canal, basically.
I understand. I said
Okay.
aqueduct.
But he isn't measuring to the. I don't think he's measuring to the bottom of the aqueduct. They're measuring from the top of the where the concrete is flat and start sloping down in the water, I believe.
Well, I understand that, but if that bottom cement follows the curvature of the earth, then the water touching that cement also follows the curvature of the earth. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It has to follow it.
No, it doesn't, Lil. What would happen is if we put in, okay, let's say the earth is a globe, okay, and we accidentally put in over 1 mile, we actually sloped it, I don't want to say that because Larry, but we put in, for 8 inches for the 1 mile, let's call it 1.5 miles, and we put in 10 inches, okay? So 1.5 miles, we factored in 10 inches of for earth curve over that 1.5 miles to the gate at the bottom. And but the people who built it messed up and put in 20 inches. They put in 20 inches of drop instead of the 10 inches. So at the bottom, instead of the and plus the 3 inches for the slope. So 13 inches to 23 inches, let's say. So at the bottom, instead of getting 3 inches higher of water, we get 13 inches because they mucked up and gave it too much curve. You see what I'm saying? The water won't give a shit how it's built. The water will act accordingly. So if they built it wrong and put in double, 23 inches of drop instead of the 13, then the water at the bottom will be 10 inches higher than it's supposed to be. And there's a few things. There's some comebacks. I don't expect to get no friction on this, but on its face, that's what we would expect on a flat Earth. We would expect the water to behave like a flat Earth and be higher at the bottom.
No, if the Earth were flat, the surface of the ground where the aqueduct is, the canal bottom, would be completely level and flat and would have no curvature taken into account, and therefore the water flowing across that surface would also be flowing across a flat surface and be flat. If it's
okay, let me ask you this,
who cares if it's 13 inches higher?
Fair enough. Let me ask you a question then. Okay, so if the Earth is flat, over 1.5 miles, we put in 10 inches we built the aqueduct as if the Earth was curved. Okay, and then we added 3 inches for slope. Okay, so if the Earth is flat, what would we expect the water level to be? If from the top of the water to the top of the aqueduct at the beginning is let's say 5 foot, and 1.5 miles downstream of the aqueduct, if the Earth was flat, what would we expect the water level to be there?
What is the purpose of putting slope in an aqueduct, Brian?
To make it flow.
Right, because if it didn't flow, then it would overflow on the top of the aqueduct, right?
If it didn't flow, yeah, it'd just sit
So,
there.
is it possible to have an aqueduct that follows the curvature of the earth that has slopes so that the water does not overflow?
That's how it's
out of
built.
the
It's not
aqueduct?
for overflow, Lil. It's to make it flow. But I'm asking you, if the water we measure 5 foot from the top of the aqueduct to the top of the water at the beginning, if the earth was flat and the aqueduct was built accordingly, what level would we expect at the bottom? It ain't gonna be exact, but about what would you expect to see if the earth, or that even that section of earth that was a gravitational anomaly and it was flat, what level of water would we expect to see at the bottom if it's 5 foot at the top?
Whatever level of water that they have measured the aqueduct to have, that's what it would have. I haven't seen the measurements and stuff, but that's what it would have. And that may sound like a first grade answer, but that's the
No. I'm giving you the measurement, Leo. I'm telling you that it's 1.5 miles. Let's just make it a mile, okay? And it's there's 8 inches of drop from the horizontal plus 3 inches for slope for the water to flow. So at the top of the slab, we measure 5 foot and 11 inches. Okay, what would if the Earth was flat and we put in 11 inches for 8 for Earth curve, 3 for slope. But if the Earth turned out to be flat, what would we measure at the bottom of that aqueduct? If at the top we measured 5 foot 11 inches, what would be the height if the Earth was flat?
From the surface of the ground where the water touches the surface of the aqueduct on the bottom to the top of the water is 5 foot 11. We would measure 5 foot 11.
Yeah, 5 foot 11. Yeah. And now at the bottom, but if the Earth was curved, if the Earth was flat, but we built the aqueduct, so in other words, it's 11-inch lower at the bottom. At the bottom of the mile, it's literally the structure is 11 inches lower. What would we expect the water to be?
Whatever the people who created the aqueduct specified that it would be.
Well, let's say it's 5 foot at the top where we measured it. And we know that we built it in for 8 inches per mile off the horizontal for earth curve and 3 inches for water flow. We measure 5 inches or 5 feet at the top from the water to the top of the aqueduct. And then we go down to the end of the mile and it was flat. What would we expect the water height to be from the top of the water to the top of the aqueduct there?
People who created the aqueduct, we would expect the measurements to be whatever they specified the measurements would be. That's what my answer is. I'm not going to give you a definite number because I have not seen the specs.
We're just going back and forth and getting nowhere here, guys. Let's.
Well, can anybody answer that for me, just so I know that everybody understands my argument? Let's say it's 11. It's 1 mile. It's 11 inches, 8 for from the horizontal, 8 for the curvature of Earth, 3 for the water flow. We measure 5 inches at the top of the mile, and what would we expect to measure at the bottom if the Earth is flat? Can anybody answer that?
It follows the curvature of the Earth, but we're going to measure it if it was flat. How can we do that?
I think of it this way: if the water level at the high end is at say 200 feet above sea level, and we go down a mile, and they have incorporated a 3-inch slope for the mile, that would mean the elevation of the water after a mile be expected to be about 199 feet and 9 inches as an elevation when it's flowing. Now, if they close the gate at the far end, it'll only rise up those couple of inches. Curvature of the Earth, right, doesn't involve a lot because the curvature of the Earth is to maintain the constant elevation. So if it's 200 feet elevation at the high end and 199 feet and 9 inches at the lower end while it's flowing, I just don't understand why you're saying.
I hear you, but I'm just making sure anybody understands my argument. Can anybody answer this? One last time, I'm gonna word it specific as I can and keep it short. Okay, The Earth is flat. Put your flat Earth hat on for a second. It's just just see if y'all understand. Okay. Yeah, I'm not holding you to this. I'm just seeing if you understand the concept. Okay. They're off the horizontal line over 1 mile of the aqueduct. Okay, just 1 mile. Okay, we build the aqueduct with 8 inches drop from the horizontal, from a straight line, I want to say, and then for earth curve, and then we add 3 inches. Also, we drop 3 inches off for water flow. And now come to find out the earth is flat. Okay, I'm not trying to get y'all to concede that the earth is flat. I'm just trying to see if anybody understands my argument here. So now, if the earth wound up being flat, what would we expect? What water level would we expect to see at the bottom if it was 5 foot at the top from the water level to the top of the aqueduct? What would we expect to see at the bottom? What measurement?
Yeah, let me show you. Got a super chat. Let me shout out Elabaka. CLP 2500 says, Brian, aqueducts have a slope. Besides that, if it curves according to the globe, but water doesn't, shouldn't it eventually overflow at the top?
Yeah, that was the point of the video. It's like this thing should overflow. Why isn't it? If the earth is flat and there's gates, like there's dozens and dozens of gates. They're periodical. They're for the relief. But that is what would happen. He's right. If the earth is flat, okay, and there's curved considerations put in the aqueduct, and there wasn't gates, that's what would happen. But anyway, I just wanted to see if anybody understood the concept and could give me the number that I was looking for. If the earth was flat and we measured 5 foot at the top, we got 11 inches of drop from the straight line. What level would we expect to measure at the bottom? Now I'm not trying to get you to concede anything, just making sure everybody understands what level would we expect to measure at the bottom.
Anybody want to try it? Making myself a little sketch here, Brian.
I don't know the if that part of the aqueduct is concrete lined, then the elevation of the flow line of that concrete lining will be 3 inches lower at the end of the mile. So that's
right.
Lower in elevation. So if the earth were flat and you were just making this 1 mile long single observation, it would be 3 inches lower.
No, but if earth curve considerations were added to that mile, to the 8 inches, but you're on the right track. But if there was 8 inches built into the aqueduct off of the straight line horizontal, then what would the water level be?
Sounds like 11 inches.
Yeah, so we would measure what from the top of the water to the top of the aqueduct if we measured 5 foot at the top?
Well, if you're measuring it at the end of the mile, or you're measuring it from the tangent,
Yeah.
which means you're
No,
measuring it from a mile
at the
away.
end of the mile. At the end of the mile with a tape measure.
I don't know what you're measuring to, because the top of the aqueduct doesn't sound that's not where the engineering happens. It's in the flow line of the concrete
I
line.
understand that. But I'm just saying, hypothetically, what would if we put in earth curve and come to find out, even if just hypothetically that was a gravitational anomaly and that section was flat. I mean, just however you want to look at it. I'm not trying to get you to concede to a flat earth, but what would, if we measured with a tape measure from the top of the water to the top of the aqueduct, 5 foot at the top, at the bottom, what would the tape measure read from the top of the water to the top of the aqueduct?
Sounds like 5 foot 3 inches.
No.
You said it had 3 inches of drop in the mile, and if the top of the aqueduct, I'm not really clear what that means, is at a constant elevation, then downstream, while it's flowing, would probably be about 3 inches lower.
No, I'm saying we added in 8 inches of earth curve.
No, but the top of the aqueduct is at a constant elevation, or nearly, or maybe not, because the California aqueduct is one of the most carefully engineered pieces of gravity flow, considering they go hundreds of miles and they can't lose too much elevation early, and they have to really milk it out. That's why it looks, when you look at it, it's like some squirrely line, because they're always trying to make that really shallow grade to where it flows at a very constant rate.
Yeah, that is minimal fall, and that's good. But see, now I understand that nobody even understands this argument. Maybe I'm wording it wrong, but I can't believe nobody can answer if the Earth was flat, just hypothetically speaking, and we added 8 inches of Earth curvature, we added and 3 inches on top of that for flow, and come to find out the Earth was flat. We measured a tape measure from the top of the water to the top of the aqueduct, 5 foot at the beginning, down at the end of that mile.
Well, if the Earth was flat, then you're not adding in 8 inches per mile squared.
I said if. I mean, I don't know how many times I could say this.
If it's flat, then you're not adding that 8 inches. Since the Earth is curved, that 8 inches, which only relates to the tangent from a mile away, returns the same elevation. So with a 3-inch flow, that'd be 3 more inches. That'd be 11 inches off that tangent, because you're measuring it from a mile away.
Okay, let me try this one more time. I will try one more time to give you an honest. Okay, so if Earth curve was factored in this mile when we built the aqueduct, in other words, 8 inches lower at the end of the mile due to the Earth curve. Okay, we're following the Earth curve. It's approximately 8 inches, and we added 3 inches.
You're robot bad. Sorry.
I thought when I heard that, I thought it was maybe my reception. Yeah,
if that's any better, man.
You didn't get 2 words out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it comes and goes. Yeah.
Okay, so the test is this. So if we built the aqueduct thinking the Earth was a globe over this 1 mile, and we put in 8 inches from the straight horizontal. Okay, we dropped it down 8 inches to follow the curve of the Earth that we thought was there. Then we gave it an additional 3 inches of drop for water flow. Come to find out, the Earth was flat, so it's dropping down. The aqueduct itself from the tangent, or the horizontal line, you want to call it, is it's 8 inches of drop plus 3 inches of drop. And then come to find out, the Earth is flat. So if we measured 5 foot, we had a tape measure, we stretch it out, and we let the bottom touch the tape touch the top of the water, and we measured 5 foot to the top of the aqueduct. Down at the bottom, if the Earth was flat, what would the tape, if the bottom of the tape hit the top of the water, what reading would we get at the top? At the bottom of the aqueduct.
5 feet 3 inches.
You know why you're only supposed to read 300 feet at a time with a level. So when even if the Earth were flat and you're making your little leapfrogs with your survey level every couple hundred feet, you end up with a constant elevation for the top of the aqueduct, and you make the flow line 3 inches lower after a mile, flat or curved. Now, if the Earth is curved and you're moving your instrument once every couple of hundred feet, if the Earth were flat, you move the instrument once every couple of hundred feet. At no point will you ever take out, the number 8 inches and add it to anything ever.
Hey, while there's a break, shout out Timo Lynch for €2, who says, "Hey Trey, are you going to debate FTFE again?" Who's Trey? Don't know.
I don't know either. But I'll tell you this.
I would say this, Brian. Let's think about it another way. If they added 8 inches per mile to account for the curvature of the earth that wasn't actually there, how far do you think that aqueduct would have to run before the water overflowed the top of it?
It wouldn't. It would have to run, depending on the top. Without gates, it wouldn't have to run not that far. It would probably only have to run probably 20 miles or something, depending on how high the aqueduct is. If it's 5 foot under, let's see, it would have to run. No, not even that. Probably a few miles. Probably about 3-4 miles.
Yeah,
probably about
not
3-4
far.
miles.
Not far.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is there is gates there, so there's relief.
With or without the gates, it's going to overflow.
Not if it's constantly flowing out.
No, we'll have a look at it.
Plus, it does. I will say this: it winds like a snake, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's worth taking a look. I just wanted to see. They don't understand my argument. I mean, I don't. I can't. I'm having trouble rewording this. I'm just basically saying that there's 11 inches of drop, and the Earth is flat, basically. So if we measure 5 foot at the top of the aqueduct, the 1 mile down the aqueduct, we would measure 11 inches less than that. So can anybody, tell me what we'd read on the tape measure if the water was 11 inches higher at the bottom?
Well, you said it was 5 feet at the top?
Yes, sir.
He measures down 5 feet from the top of this aqueduct to the surface of the water?
Yeah.
Yeah, that measurement's going to be the same whether it's on a flat or a curved earth.
If you have an elevation change of 3 inches per mile, yeah, it's going to be the same.
No, I'm saying that there's 8 inches of drop from the horizontal, 8 inches of drop from the flat line. And if the earth is flat, then that means that the water.
But he's not measuring from a horizontal.
11 inches.
You're not measuring.
No, we're measuring
from
the water. So if the earth is
measuring,
flat and the water is,
he's measuring down from the
according.
top of the aqueduct, right?
Right.
Okay, if the top of the aqueduct is dropping in elevation 3 inches per mile, it doesn't matter. Excuse me. It doesn't matter whether the earth is curved or flat. It's still
dropped
3 inches. It's still a 3-inch drop.
It dropped 8 inches. Earth curve considerations were given when they shouldn't have been. So it's dropping down 8 inches plus the 3 inches for the flow. So the aqueduct itself is dropping down 11. In my hypothetical, the aqueduct is dropping down 11 inches. So what would the water say if the earth was flat? I mean, what would the measurement be? If it's 5.
You're not making that measurement, though, Brian.
No, I'm only pulling a tape measure from the top of the water to the top of the aqueduct.
Right.
Now, if the top of the aqueduct drops 11 inches from the beginning to the end of the mile, well, if we measure 5 foot,
then you're going to have to measure. You're going to have to construct that horizontal to get that measurement. And you
all we got to
have
do
that.
is measure the water, though.
No.
I mean, basically,
No. You don't have a measurement to the horizontal.
Oh, we're using the water. Remember, the earth is flat.
Right. Your water is the only thing you've got to measure is the top of the water and the top of the aqueduct. You can't measure the horizontal. You don't have it there to measure to.
Right. In this hypothetical, the earth is flat and it's sloping down 11 inches. So let's just say it's a retention and it's a mile long. And I measure 5 foot at the top. There's 11 inches of drop from the horizontal straight line, not the curved level, but the horizontal straight line. In this hypothetical, the earth is flat.
Yeah.
And it's 5 foot from the top of the water to the top of the aqueduct at the beginning, and down at the end of the mile. If the aqueduct drops down 11 inches, what'll be the measurement from the top of the water to the top of the aqueduct. I know Blue's just trying to let y'all answer, man. It's not a trick question. It's just a hypothetical, y'all. I'm not trying to prove anything. It's just a hypothetical.
Well, it's one we're just going around in circles on, I think.
Yeah, but I'm getting them thinking so they at least understand my point. I know they're not going to agree with it. I know there's factors and all that, but I'm just saying I just want to get them thinking and get an answer to make sure that they understand at least what my point is. I'm not saying that they're going to agree with it or not going to have, anywhere from an excuse to a very strong debunk, one from one end of the spectrum to the other. I'm not going to say they ain't going to have 10 disproofs of it, but I'm just trying to see if they understand. And on a flat earth, what we would expect or close to it, and I think you understand, Blue, but it's a pure hypothetical, man. Nothing more, nothing less. And
Well, all I can say is let's give us the benefit of having a look at the video before we try going any further with this.
Fair enough.
I've not seen it.
Anyway, the answer would be if the Earth was flat and the aqueduct was dropping down 11 inches for whatever reason. If the top we measured 5 foot from the top of the aqueduct, in other words, it would be the aqueduct itself would be 11 inches lower at the bottom, but the water wouldn't be. The water would still be at the same level if the Earth is flat. So we'd get 4 foot 1 inches. That would be the water would be higher at the bottom, and if it was 11 inches higher, then we'd measure 4 foot 1 from the top of the water to the top of the aqueduct. So that's kind of the argument. We can discuss it later, at a later date.
Yeah, the aqueduct is one of the greatest examples of the curvature of the shape of the Earth. So it's the most carefully one of the most carefully engineered pieces of anything. I mean, because of the super amount of money and importance in it. So I know when I get around the Imperial Valley,
We lost you, Larry. Huh. Or maybe I lost everybody. Mic check. I have no idea what just happened. Any of you guys hearing me? Okay, let's see. Discord may have gone berserk. Let me get out and get back in. How about now? Okay, folks, Discord is having a problem, unfortunately. And I don't know what's going on. But while it's still showing everybody connected, it's telling me no route, whatever that means. So, hey, shout out Truth Nerds for 10 euros. I need y'all's help. If I'm ordering pizza 1 foot in diameter and they only cut it in 4 pieces, even though I have 5 guests, and 1 pizza isn't enough for all anyway, how much should I tip the driver? I'm afraid you're on your own there, buddy. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm gonna try one more thing before we call this off. I'm gonna get out of Discord altogether. Nah, not working. Discord's not working. Well, listen, we're at the 3 hour mark anyway, so I think I will say good evening to all of you out there in YouTube land. Thanks for showing up. I really appreciate it. We've had a great crowd tonight. Over 100 people a lot of the time, so we'll do this again for sure. And in the meanwhile, I'll see if I can figure out what's gone wrong with damn Discord. Anyway, everyone take care. Have a good evening, and we'll see you later.